that gun comes out of that holster, it's business time.
It's not a joke. It's not a game. Whether you win or lose out here, if you want to look at it as a game, will determine whether you live or die.
Holy shit, dude, we got a lot of
We will make you run that gun harder than you ever have before because all the lives are counting on you.
I don't care that you've been around for 30 years doing it. I care about what is your proficiency level and safety level right now. Amateurs train until they get it right, and professionals train until they get it wrong. All right, welcome to Magpul Dynamics Dynamic Handgun. The first thing we like to do is introduce ourselves first of all. I'm Travis Haley, this is Chris Costa, and we want to find out a little bit about what kind of demographics of shooters we have here. Let's start over here and introduce yourselves so we can learn more about why you're here and what you do and what you're here to do as a goal.
Thanks guys for having me here. My name is Matt Nyman. I work for Smith & Wesson as a product manager. A couple main goals for being here. The first is to become a more educated and competent shooter. The second is that this is a perfect environment for someone like myself who works for a major firearms manufacturer to find out what the end user wants and needs in a product, as well as how we can make our products better. I've been shooting for a little over 20 years. I carry a concealed weapon the majority of the time, so a course like this is just going to improve my skills as well as my mental capabilities if for some reason I needed to use my weapon.
I'm Garth Cowley. I'm a police officer in Colorado. I'm also a firearms instructor for the department, and it's one of the reasons that I'm here is to become a better trainer and also to become more proficient as a shooter myself.
Good morning, I'm Captain Jim Carter, United States Marine Corps. I've been in the Marine Corps for about 9 years. I've got combat time downrange in Iraq. Been shooting for about 25 years, give or take. I'm here to become a more effective combat shooter, to push my level beyond that expected in the Marine Corps so I can be combat effective and that I can gain skills and abilities here with this training that will push the level of my Marines, that we are that much better prepared for when we go downrange.
Hey guys, I'm Willie. I'm a 19-year-old college student down at the Georgia Institute of Technology studying industrial design. I've only been shooting for about 5 years and I'm really just here to better myself and have a good time.
Michael Struy, a police officer here in Colorado as well. I've been on patrol for 3 years. I'm here to excel as an individual, hopefully after this time here, push myself as a patrolman and serve my community better as a police officer.
Keith Parker, been in the Marine Corps for about 8 years. Currently instructing the Marine Scout Sniper School. For us, the pistol is a tertiary weapon system, so oftentimes it doesn't get the training that it deserves, and certainly lacks some realism. So hopefully, coming through Magpul handgun course, I'll be able to take some of the skills back to the schoolhouse and better train the Marines.
Good morning, my name is Scott Wilson. I'm with Surefire Law Enforcement Sales, and I'm here to continue to try to improve my personal skill set and also hopefully gain a better understanding about how our various customers might deploy our products in conjunction with their handguns so that we can continue to share that information and hopefully help save lives.
All right, guys, first of all, thanks for coming out. The fact of the matter is, when you think about the handgun, it is truly our lifeline. It is like oxygen. It's like the water we drink. For some of you guys, as you guys can see, we've got law enforcement out here. We have military personnel out here. Like you had said earlier, you know, as far as the aspect of the Marine Corps, it's a tertiary weapon system for you, but one day if you need to use that, it is going to be your lifeline. For you, Willie, it could be in a home defense situation, it could be your lifeline as well. And for those of you guys that carry on you, every day that responsibility of carrying a handgun is extremely important. I know when I carried a handgun, I took it extremely serious. It was my lifeline for many reasons, because it was all I either had or it was what I was utilizing to fight my way back to something bigger. And those are the aspects that we want to look at. How hard can we get you to run your guns, and not only that, but do it under stress? Forward! Because things under stress are completely different. So you'll see a lot of our mindset is based around what you do under dynamic stress. Whether you're Marine Corps, whether you're a SWAT operator, or whether you're just a person, you know, in a home defense role, when that gun comes out of that holster, it's business time. When things go wrong, they go wrong extremely fast, and at that point, you better understand what you need to do to survive, because it is literally your ass at that point.
And like Chris said, you're going to see the fundamentals build. You're going to see more advanced skills, which are basically just fundamentals being honed. Okay, there's no such thing as really advanced and basic in our minds. What there is a honing of fundamentals, because there's so many different levels. That's why we don't like to use the terminology basic and advanced. But what we really care about is the why. Why are we doing what we do? Why are we choosing the techniques that we're using out here? And we're going to justify those not only verbally to you guys, but we want you guys to justify them in your own mind, to break that mechanic down and really think about it visually and understand the why of what you're doing. That's where you're going to excel to become a better shooter right now, right off the bat, is in your mind. You will not find Chris and I come out here and tell you this is what you will do, because this is what we saw in our career. We're going to let you guys excel and progress at your own skill levels, and we're going to come by and try to fine-tune and hone the efficiencies, the excessive waist movements, make your effectiveness downrange go up through the roof, hopefully, and that's what we're looking for here. I think we got some competitive shooters here as well, and you'll see that if you can shoot under stress, that little buzzer in a competitive situation, for example, is going to help you excel. Okay, because you understand how your body can manipulate a weapon system under stress, and it's just that much smoother. All right, most of you guys know our core principles, which is reality, consistency, and efficiency. To reiterate a little bit on those, obviously what you're here to do, what we just talked about, the why of shooting, that's the reality. So we're going to incorporate that reality into our shooting. The consistency. Consistency is obviously, we've said this many times, is extremely important, because if you have 1,000 different variations or repetitions, what is that? It's 1,000 wasted repetitions, okay? So keep that in mind. All right, and then there's our last core principle, which is efficiency. We're going to really work out the bugs and the kinks in the beginning here. Some of you guys are probably going to be rusty, some of you are newer shooters, but we're going to find your efficiency level, not just in excessive waist movements and feet work and hand work and all that stuff, but also the effect that you have downrange. How efficient is that?
Amateurs train until they get it right, professionals train until they get it wrong. That's the most important factor there, is willing to take yourself to a point where you might actually get something wrong and try to excel past that.
Chris and I will never come out here and run a BSA template clean, ever. Because the day we do means we just got comfortable. And when we feel comfortable, that should be an alarm that goes off in your head and says, hey, grab for that next rung in the ladder of excellence.
All right, now let's go do some shooting.
All right, guys, the first thing we're going to cover is the grip of the handgun. We see the most inconsistencies with the grip and inefficiencies as well. So we really want to concentrate on getting a consistent grip every single time, and we're going to talk about the proper grip right now and the mechanics behind it. My grip starts in the draw, which we're going to cover here in a little while. But what I want to find first is a high tang grip. Okay, I want to get this beaver tail, like on this Smith & Wesson M&P here, is really drastic, so your hand can get high up in there and higher up on the height over bore ratio, higher on the barrel. If we could put our hand right here on the back of the slide and shoot it, we would. That would be ultimate recoil control, but we can't. So that's what I like to choose when I'm looking for a gun, is a high grip just like this. But you'll notice I have this gap in here. Now you're going to see lots of different types of grips. You'll see thumbs down grips. That's a revolver grip. We don't need a revolver grip here because this has a tang. Revolvers don't have back straps or tangs like this, okay? So we need to fill this entire void. That's my priority. This is not filling the void. This is filling the void. This is actually a huge contact portion, this part of your hand. And this has got to really be pressing on that gun. You'll notice that a lot of people will shoot a thumbs up grip or a thumbs out grip. You're minimizing the contact on the gun. So basically what you're doing is you're providing path of least resistance, which is what we don't want, and I'm going to cover that here in a second. So we want to fill that entire void with a thumbs forward grip. So if you put my finger straight out, you're going to see they're kind of at a 45-degree angle down. So that's a good reference tool right there, is to rotate your hand down, your thumb will be straight and in line with the bore, and then you can curl those fingers underneath. I put a little reference notch in my trigger guard, so when that index trigger finger comes up underneath, it wedges in there. And then you'll see over here that these fingers will rest in these grooves. And that is about 100% grip that I can get. Does anybody know the 60-40 grip? Matt, what do you use under stress? Do you use 60% on the strong or the weapon hand and 40% on the reaction hand? What do you use? Is it 42%, 42.5?
Not sure how to judge the percentage on either side.
Exactly. You don't know. You don't know what you use under stress, but I know that 100% and 100% works for me. So that's what I'm going to stick with. So that's the mechanics right there. Okay, what I'm going to show you guys now is the mechanics of the handgun and how it recoils. I'm going to start off with a weapon hand only grip. Now what I want you guys to do, and you can come into where you can see me a little better if you need to, but watch how the gun recoils, okay? Which way did the gun just recoil?
Up and left.
Up and left. Because I have resistance on this side and no resistance on this side, correct? All right, now let's try with the other side. Which way did the gun recoil? Up and to the right. Resistance, no resistance. Now let's get 100% grip, but I'm not going to get a high tang grip. Which way did it recoil? Straight up. Because I have equal tension, equal resistance on each side, but I didn't have that high tang grip. Now I'm going to get 100% high tang grip and watch what the gun does. Which way did the gun recoil? Straight back. So guys, right there are the mechanics of a handgun. That's how the recoil works, and that's why you've got to have 100% maximum contact on the gun. Thumbs down, thumbs up, teacups, wrist grabs, Hawaii 5-0, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to use, that's fine, but think about the mechanics and see if they justify themselves in your own minds by just watching that demonstration right there. What we're going to do now is admin reload. This is an administrative reload. That means you can take all the time in the world to make sure that gun is in battery, so when you do have to use it on your nightstand, pull it out of the locker, you're putting in your duty gear, you're going out on patrol, or you're going out in Durka-Durkistan somewhere, then that gun comes out under dynamic stress. It will work. Because I've seen so many people set themselves up for failure because they're not consistent with the way they load, whether it's riding the slide or they're not seating the magazine all the way, and they're just like, yeah, whatever, and they put it away, and next thing you know, people are dying. Okay, so it starts right here, basic fundamentals, admin reload, so I'll work through it with you guys. First thing you're going to do is you're going to get into your stance. All right, a lot of guys will just come up and they'll start grabbing their guns and they're like this, and they start loading it and they put it right back away. But what I like to do is take it the extra step. I like to come out, look at what I'm about to shoot, visualize a real person. Maybe it's a light switch on the wall, he's really tiny. And what you're going to do is you're going to draw like you normally would. So what I'm doing here is getting one more repetition on the draw in my life. And also, sight alignment, sight picture, and that is again one more repetition. So I'm being consistent to what I'm about to possibly go out and do on the streets or in my house. Because, hey, maybe 5 minutes from now somebody breaks in. Maybe 5 minutes from now I get an active shooter call. So consistency, getting that sight alignment, sight picture. Once I'm comfortable with that, I'll bring the gun into my workspace. Notice where my workspace is. This is not my workspace, okay? You guys see that? This is not my workspace. This is a workspace. Can I see my gun here? I can see you guys though. Can I see my gun and you guys now? Sure I can. So if I need to problem solve, I'm problem solving and keeping my head up. Okay? We see a lot of guys doing this, looking down at the gun. That is what's going to get people killed. Had a guy write an email to us the other day. He was a Marine in Iraq, and he shot a guy 15 yards away with his carbine, watched him fall, ran across the street, did a speed reload down here. When he looked up, that guy he just shot was in his face and shot him, and now he's a paraplegic. Because his workspace was not here. He was not aware of his surroundings. So that's why we want to be consistent from right now, from the start. All right. Once this gun is in a workspace, I'm going to go ahead and take a magazine out. I'm going to index the magazine properly with my index finger up along the tip of the rounds here. A lot of people say touch the round so you can feel it. That's okay, but you don't really need to do that. The round's going to go in. Insert one time. Don't sit there and tap it a couple times. It's one insert. Okay. Then my hand is going to immediately roll from here right over to the top of the slide and power stroking. Notice where my hands are right now. They're not still up on the gun riding the slide. I hit myself in the shoulder to overemphasize this, but that's typically what I'll do anyways, is I will make sure that inertia is in full motion going home and putting that round in the chamber. Once I am here, I will then rotate the gun down, and I prefer this kind of press check here. I like to have control of the gun so I can actually open the slide and visualize brass in there, okay? Or if it's at nighttime, I can take and put my finger in there. Now, I will sling it home. I will not ride it home. Sling it home, and then for value added, I will hit the rear of the slide to make sure the gun is completely in battery. okay? At that point, I will then holster the gun. All right, so let's see that one more time. And that's it, okay? You notice the steps are very deliberate. I stop and make sure that next action I'm about to do is precise and done correctly. And that's where the consistency will start. And if you maintain that consistency, that will turn into long-term potentiation and learning. And then your subconscious mind will eventually take control, and I don't even have to think about what I'm doing. And that's where we want to get, because under stress, I don't want to have to worry about these fine things when I've got bigger things to worry about.
First thing that we'll look at is stance. Stance is extremely important. We can look at it from starting from the feet, working all the way up back to the gun. First thing that we want to do is generally start with our feet shoulder width apart. We can take our reaction leg and put it out slightly. Remember that the legs and the lower body, though it is important in a perfect world, if we can get into this stance, then that's what we need to do. Also, the upper body, our chest is generally forward. Our arms are generally in a forward position because that's what we will do under a body alarm response or reaction to a dynamic stress situation. So what you'll find is most people under stress come out and drive their gun because they're panicking. So what we try to do is we try to incorporate techniques that allow you to do and practice what you are going to do under stress. Now, we get our feet shoulder width apart, left foot slightly forward, not aggressively forward, to where you cannot take that shot there where you'll actually be hyperextended on your hips, or your hips won't allow you to rotate. You'll actually have to come up, replant your foot. That's wasted movement. So what we want to be able to do is I can take him, I can look, I can drive, fire here, move, engage here, here, here. It does not matter. My lower body is stationary, my upper body is what's more in control at that point. What you're going to find is that what your upper body does is slightly more important than what your lower body does, because your upper body needs to control and manage recoil. When we drive that gun out, when Travis talks about that thumb forward position, when we talk about the grips and the mechanics of the gun to mitigate recoil, what we're also looking at is our elbow position, because a lot of times people will shoot handgun like this, and generally the bend in the elbow creates the path of least resistance. Now, you can shoot accurately like this, okay? You can. You can be a bullseye shooter and come out and fire and hit the X-ring at 50 yards. But this is a dynamic handgun. This is preparing us for a possible engagement where we actually got to get on this gun and run this gun. Each and every one of those shots are where they need to be. But if I drop that elbow, that gun is going to go to the path of least resistance, whether I have a good dominant grip on the gun or not. So upper body is extremely important. Again, driving straight out. A lot of people try to wonder, well, how aggressive do I drive my elbows out? So as a good rule, you can just say hyperextend to where it causes you pain, back them off to where it doesn't. And then that's generally your happy medium. Everybody's built slightly different. So those mechanics are going to be slightly different between each individual. Sight alignment is what? What are we generally thinking when we're having to align our sights? How do we do that?
Front post centered and level, and then rear notch.
Okay, outstanding. So it's leveled and it also has equal daylight on both sides, correct? Now what do we mean by sight picture?
Relationship between the shooter's eye, his sights, and the target.
Outstanding. So we are trying to line all that up. And of course, under stress, that could be a moving person. That person could be moving from point A to point B. That person is probably and likely shooting at you, which is why you employed your weapon system in the first place. So now I'm trying to line my sights up, sight alignment, sight picture at the same time. What's the next one?
Trigger control.
Trigger control. If you cannot manipulate that trigger well, generally most of the missed shots are contributed just accuracy alone. Not worrying about mitigating recoil right now, but just accuracy is extremely important. And we know that most missed shots are generally trigger related. So usually, if you could look at all those fundamentals, trigger is usually 80% of that, if not even more. What else do we have beyond trigger control? Breathing, okay? Breathing is going to be extremely important. But if you have to make a critical shot, we try to break our shot on what we refer to as our natural respiratory pause. So as I breathe in, I breathe out and exhale, boom, break that shot. There's about that 3 seconds of, if you don't get that shot off, what's probably going to start happening, because you're talking about holding your breath, possibly. Start to get that tremor is going to go all the way through your body, and then eventually, if you don't breathe, what's going to end up happening? You're gonna be unconscious. You'll know it because you'll be laying there. So the important thing is breaking our shot on our natural respiratory pause. So breathing is important on critical shots, but when you start running and gunning, you're going to realize that you're not paying attention to where you're breathing. You're going to be watching your sights. You're going to be watching what your gun's doing, trying to mitigate that recoil. Worrying about trigger reset, okay? And that moves us to the last one, which was?
Follow through.
Follow through. What exactly is follow through? I fired a gun, the gun discharges, round leaves. Now what happens?
Not slapping the trigger, not jerking it, not flinching it, or bucking because you're anticipating the shot. It's continued application. You're continuing to hold the trigger to the rear for that split second after the recoil of the round.
Okay, outstanding. So we're pressing the trigger to the rear, trying to not anticipate that shot. Shot breaks now. What do I do with my trigger finger? I let out to what?
Reset.
Reset. Couple things going on there. There's a few questions you're asking yourself. First, was my shot effective? Right? That's what you're doing in a split second, because I fire, I reset, and I might be right back on that trigger. Because if my shot's not effective, what am I doing? I'm shooting again. I'm employing that weapon system again. Was my shot effective? And if I had to, can I take another follow-up shot right now if I needed to? Those things are very important. And what we're doing is that's happening really fast. So we're going to break that down. I'm going to break trigger control down because, again, it's probably one of the most important factors. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the trigger system itself. Now what you'll notice is a lot of shooters will tell you, or a lot of schools will tell you, that the shot should surprise you. Let me tell you what, if you're coming in to rescue my family, that shot should not surprise you. You should know right when that shot is about to break, okay? Now we know that on handgun, which is extremely difficult, like rifle, for instance. The correlation here being a rifle's generally about 9 pounds, 8 pounds, depending upon how much ninja-fied stuff you end up putting on that weapon system. But the trigger on those guns are generally 5 pounds. So we've got a gun that weighs more than what the trigger pull is. Does that make sense? Now we have actually the complete opposite. We have a gun that's about 1.5 pounds, if that, and the trigger pull can range anywhere on some of the modern firearms from 12 pounds-ish on a Beretta to 6 pounds on single action to a 1911 that's running maybe 4 pounds, depending upon who's messed with that weapon system, to Glocks that are running 5.5. So what the correlation there is now is that we actually have a gun that's lighter than what our pull is, which is why we generally start having a lot more cavitation and fundamental problems. So the first thing that I'm going to do when I look at the trigger is pull it to the rear. Okay, so I'm pressing it to the rear. And then now I can tell you that my gun and this trigger is about to discharge. Then it's a slow press. This gun doesn't move left or right. That trigger bar runs right down the center. So a slow press to the rear, gun goes off. After the gun goes off, it's going to cycle. When it cycles, I will let out to reset. Most of you will hear it or feel it. Again, follow through, slow press to the rear. Gun cycles. Reset, slow press to the rear. Notice even after, and here's the key point right here, is after I reset it, watch the little bit of slack that I still have to take up. I still have to take up a little bit of slack. This is extremely important when you're talking about making good, accurate shots. Now that's on my weapon system, and every weapon system's different. All right, guys, the next thing that we're gonna talk about is putting all those together. So I'm going to try to get into perfect stance, watch my elbows, the mechanics of the gun like Travis had already covered, good trigger control. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna work on is accuracy. Start running the gun a little faster. Obviously, we're still talking about a 1.5 inch dot right there, trying to keep a good group. What I'll expect out of you guys is, as we shoot these 3-inch groups, is being able to keep everything inside that 3-inch group. Now I started shooting faster and faster and faster. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start off. I'll show you exactly what I want you guys to focus on, and then we'll start pressing on from there. All that I'm showing is that even on a small dot, you can pretty much keep everything in there as you start increasing your cadence of fire, pushing yourself to your failure point. Now, let's break this down a little bit further. I said there's 7 fundamentals of shooting, right? That's a lot. That's a lot that we have to actually duplicate under stress. How do I condense that down? How do I simplify it for myself? So the first way that I generally will simplify it is I will take that stance and that grip, and that gets combined into one. Now, sight alignment, sight picture. that's going to be classified in one group as well. So now I've taken 4 separate things and I've just kind of grouped them together. But then I have, of course, trigger control, but we know that trigger control also relates to breathing. I'll throw that in there. Follow through is merely resetting of the trigger, okay? So I'll take that and I'll combine that. So there's my 3 core that I'm going to look at right there. Now, I can lose one of those. I can only lose sight for so long. But I'm going to do a demo where I'm going to close my eyes. I'll have you guys come up here and verify that I'm not cheating. And I'll try to keep the rounds on target. I will try to do that by having a good grip and a good trigger control. And you can only do that for so long. Okay, eventually you got to open up your eyes to shoot. So let me get, let's see, Willie, and let me get Keith. Come on out here, please. All right, I'm going to try to maintain a good grip and a good trigger pull on this particular one, and I'm going to try to lose. I'm going to end up losing my sight. All right, again, just let me know when I'm outside that bubble. It'll probably be within a few rounds. So I'm going to come out, sight in. Okay, as you can see, at some point, I'm starting to be affected, right? Why? I mean, my gun's generally coming back to where the start point was, but I'm now, I can't see where I'm holding my gun. But why am I able to get some of those rounds still inside that circle? Or at least keep that consistent group going in one direction or another? What is it? Grip. It's that grip, it's that upper body mechanics, right? In a good press to the rear. That's what we're looking at. Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna exaggerate a really bad trigger control. So I'm gonna try to maintain a really good grip, good sight picture now, because I'm going to utilize my eyes. Remember, I said you want to try to keep 2. You can afford to lose 1, but you can only lose sight for so long. So now I have regained sight, obviously, and a good grip, but I'm going to exaggerate the trigger control here. All right, so I'm going to punch out. 2 fingers on a trigger. Okay, that's 2 fingers stuck on a trigger. But what did I maintain? Grip and sight picture, right? All right, so let's exaggerate. Which is the one that we haven't covered yet? Screwing up. All right, it's generally a little tough to do. So we'll come up. And I'm putting all 3 to work, right? So now I've had a crappy grip, but I did have a good sight picture, and I did have what? A good trigger control. So when you look at your dots, and you start to diagnose your target, that's what you're kind of asking yourself. How is my sight picture? Obviously, you're shooting with your eyes open, right? Common sense. But then the next thing that you're asking yourself is, how is my grip? How is my trigger control? How are all 3 of those things? Because our goal was to have all 3 of those things working for us. So I'm going to go hot again. So I'm trying to put all 3 together. That's how I put all 3 together. I want to use all 3 of those at the exact same time. That's a perfect world, okay? So as you guys are diagnosing yourself over those 7 fundamentals, grab those 7 fundamentals and make those 3. Any questions on that?
Question on stance. When you're in your firing position, where do you generally want to have your weight distributed going into your feet? Do you want it to trying to be pushing to the sides, rolling on the balls, or just center your weight straight down?
Well, let me ask you this. If you were about to run, where generally is most of your weight?
Balls of my feet.
If you're about to fight, generally where is most of your weight if you were to go to a good fighting school?
Balls of my feet.
Okay, so the same thing is employed with the handgun. Outstanding question.
Check.
All right. You guys have any questions? Okay, so here's the drill. What we're going to do is we're going to start this drill off. Concentrate on dot 9. All right, everybody's going to come out here, load and make ready. So we have a few range commands that we do. Load and make ready, or gas them up. Unload, show clear, holster. Range is hot. That's a hot range, don't go forward of the line. Range is cold, cold range, but still don't go forward of the line. And then down range signifies shooters are moving down range. Any questions with that? All right, so here's the first drill. We're gonna start. You'll load and make ready. Weapon system will already be out. Notice, most importantly, is that as I hold on to this weapon system, I stay in a compressed ready. I will drive out on target. I will not stay down here in this position and bring it up. Anybody know why? What am I generally seeing as I bring the gun up?
Go past the target.
I'll go past the target. I'm focusing on the back of my hand and the rear sight. So what I want to do now is I want to focus more on indexing that front sight, okay? Also, if I do this, what am I focusing on? Or what is the possibility that's going to happen? If I start up here and bring the gun down.
Looking over your rear sight.
Looking over my rear sight, again, that whip effect like you were talking about, it's just in reverse. Now, where is my priority? My priority is in what direction? Is it here, here, or here if nobody's in front of me except the threat?
Right there.
Right there. This is where I want to keep the gun. So if anything happens, I can even fire from this position as I'm pressing out or punching out on target. So that's where my priority is. That's where we want you to keep your muzzle pointed as long as there are no other shooters around you. All right, so here we're in a compressed ready. I'm going to say threat. Take your time. Bring it back. Threat. Punch out. Reset the trigger. Also do a search and assess. Look left, look right. Why are we searching and assessing? Just because it's a cool thing to do? More threats breaks us from that body alarm reaction. So again, I'll punch out, reset the trigger, bring the gun back to the compressed ready, search and assess. Same drill, punch out, reset, bring the weapon system back, search and assess. So what we're looking at specifically is firing one round. One round on the target every time we call it, unless we say 2 rounds. Now let me ask you this, when we talk about follow through and sight picture. I obviously had one sight picture there, fired the round, reset. When you fire 1 round, how many sight pictures do you have? 2. When you fire 3 rounds, how many sight pictures do you have? Obviously it would be 4. We're always ending on 1 with our follow through, okay? Any questions with that? So all that we're looking at is when we call the command of threat, bust them, gun, punch out, but take your time. Keep all your shots within that 3-inch circle. All right, guys, range is hot. Range is hot. All right, load and make ready. Gas them up. Get them up into your workspace. Weapon systems out. Check your stance. Check your grip. Thumbs forward, good aggressive lean forward. You're gonna fire 1 round. 1 round. Take your time. Stand by. Threat.
As I pushed out too, I don't know why I did that.
Decock. That's not decocking, Hot Rod.
Make sure you're resetting that trigger, okay? Feel that, and then actually feel that slack. You're gonna take it up again and go for a follow-up shot as you're scanning that or getting that second sight picture.
See how that is?
Yep.
That's a completely different grip than what you and I just had. So what I want you to do now is put your hand in the same place as mine.
Gotcha.
Stand by. Perfect, right there.
And then really wrap it in there, really tight.
Stand
Feel that
by.
little index point right there. Try to maintain that. Now squeeze that real hard.
All right, holster up. All right, very nice overall. We have a few shots out, that's okay. Working on those fundamentals. Couple things. We want to try to get our hands as high up on that gun as possible. You have bigger hands than me, Keith, so you technically should be able to mitigate that Beretta better than me. What's happening is you're getting a lower grip on the gun, or every time you fire, your grip changes. So now what you have is an inconsistency every time you pull that trigger. So we got to work a little bit more on getting your thumbs, as I showed you, as high up on the gun as possible.
Notice when I came by later and corrected you again, not even knowing Chris was there, but you can see your hand was low again. So we want to concentrate on a consistency from here. So every time you punch out, don't think about getting this hit until it's time to get that hit. Okay, think about everything else first. Okay, grip looks good. Everything's got to go in order deliberately, and that's what we want, because get that consistency, that primacy down first.
All right, we just got done working accuracy, doing a 1-shot drill. Now we're going to start 2-shot. For guys running double singles, this is where you're going to start experiencing 2 different trigger pulls. Obviously, that first one's double action, slide cycles back, leaving that hammer to the rear. Next one is obviously single action. Still remember those core principles, and they transfer over to everybody. Take that slack out of the trigger, get it to that gnat's ass, razor's edge, slow press to the rear, reset, follow through, work those fundamentals. Now we're going to start working 2 shots and 3 shots. So you still have plenty of time to get your hits on that dot. All right? So Travis is going to call it. Don't feel rushed on having to drive that gun out. Bring the gun back. Search and assess. Good. If you can speed up, then start doing that, okay? Then we're gonna probably transition once we see that you guys are doing good recoil management on a weapon system. The accuracy is still there, so we're having a good press of the trigger. Then what we're gonna start doing is running numbers, okay? Find a number, properly engage it, okay? So here's what this drill is gonna look like. I'll let Travis call the number. 8. 12. 1. 13. Line it up. Range is hot. All right, take your time. 2 rounds, 2 rounds. Dot number 9, 2 rounds. Stand by. Gun. Get your hits. You have plenty of time. Stand by. Gun. Let me have your hands. Relax your hand for a second. Hitchhike with this thumb, right? So I'm going to hitchhike, wrap it right there. Now let me have your other hand. I'm going to come up underneath and swap it around here. Now take this and place those freaking big hands right there. That's how I want you to shoot.
Side alignment, sight picture, press to the rear, squeeze, boom, follow through, reset.
3 rounds. Dot 10.
And you're getting a little bit of path of least resistance, so you need to close that gap up, but your trigger's causing that, okay? So I want you to isolate that thing. Give me your trigger finger. Raise your hand up, okay?
Worry about.
You feel that pain?
Yes, sir.
Put that pain on the trigger.
See what's happening to this hand and see what's happening to the grip.
Okay.
All right, so when the tip of your finger doesn't touch aggressiveness anymore, then you need to just choke back up on your hand. 2, 7, 14, gun! 15, 1, 5, 4, gun! 2, 3, 2, 3, gun!
All right, the command is going to sound something like this.
Unload, show clear, holster up when you're done.
First thing I'm going to do is eject the magazine, obviously. Next thing I'm going to do is get that same consistent power stroke motion, grabbing the rear of the frame, or the slide, excuse me. You're going to then rack out and watch the round hit the deck, and then I like to check 3 places. The chamber, looking in the top for the magazine, and then obviously in the bottom as well, just because it's value added. All right, you're being extra safe. Well then, once your gun is verified from a buddy or an instructor that it's clear and safe, we'll then send the slide home. The hammer will go down. You'll aim in to verify one last, again, value-added thing there, that there's no round in the chamber. Then you will holster the gun. And that's good practice if you're out there by yourself, you're out there at a range and there's a bunch of other people, because how many times have you gone to a shooting range and you'll see some guys walk back from the line, they'll be back underneath the shaded areas, and they'll start unloading their guns facing uprange. It happens a lot. So good practice is, if you're in a group of people, like right now, so we're going to do it together. We're not going to just let people go to the winds, because that's when accidents start to happen, especially at advanced levels where you get complacent. All right, next thing we're going to cover, guys, is a draw. I've seen things from a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You guys ever seen that? Okay, that's an institutional inertia thing like I talked about earlier. So what we want to do is just kind of get rid of all the steps and smooth it down, kind of like what Chris was talking about earlier with those core fundamentals, kind of breaking them in so it's easier to learn. And because I'll see guys that are 15, that guy says, oh, I got 30 years experience, and he looks really good, but he's like this. Okay, do you see the difference there between that and that? We want to just have a nice even flow and kind of connect the dots. And basically what I like to do is break it down into, number 1 is right here. This is my most critical step because I'm getting my grip. Okay, this is where the grip starts. We all know that by now. So I'm looking right there, and this is a dry practice thing for me. What I'll do is right there, because I just landed on a perfect grip for me, and I'm happy with that, and then I'll do it again. You see how I'm flinching every time? It's a flinch muscle body alarm response, and we're going to talk more about the mindset and how the body reacts under stress, but what we want to have is that flinch movement, okay? And that's what I'll dry practice. I'll do that 25, 50 times until I get tired of it, and then I'll go to the next step, which is right here. This is the next critical point, getting the master grip, that 100 and 100 that I talked about earlier, okay? We want to be able to get that solid before we move on to step 3, which is obviously doing everything we need to do fundamentally and then firing the gun down range. So I'm pretty much breaking it down into 3 steps that are just a fluid motion. Boom, and there. So what we're gonna do is, as we're starting to do the draw, we want you guys to concentrate here, because right now mentally I'm thinking about, is this right? Does this feel right? If it does not, I will stop, because again, that repetition is about to be wasted anyways. So for training purposes, for dry practice purposes, we want to get it right. We're going to concentrate right here. Boom, it feels good. Feels good. And I'm looking down if I need to. This is the time we take again to look down and make sure it's correct. And then drive out. Press, press. Going back and reverse the exact same way. Now, we talked to you guys a little bit about fishing and bowling earlier. Okay, this is fishing. Okay? And this is bowling. Now, what's the problem with that? What's the problem with fishing? When do I acquire my sights? Very last second, right? Bowling, when do I acquire my sights? Very last second. But here, I've got that laser beam on the target, and there's that laser beam coming out of the bore. And I know they're matching up, and I can see right here my sights coming into play, and they know where to stop. Here, they don't know where, because then you'll find an overcompensation of metal mass, that mechanical sway that we talked about a little earlier. So we want to minimize that sway by just driving out. And with that symmetric drive, that's going to allow you to shoot more instinctively when we get into that intuitive slash instinctive shooting process a little later. Okay, but right now we're going to start off a little slow. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're just going to do some drills. You guys got any questions? All right, let's line it up. We'll run some draw practice. Shooters, load and make ready.
2 rounds. 2 rounds from the draw. 2 rounds from the draw. Shooters, stand by. Bust them. Don't forget to search and assess. Take your time, get your hits. Shooters, stand by. Holster up.
Get that grip on the 1 and 2.
Threat. There you go, search and assess. Look around. Once you're done, holster up. Shooters, stand by. Gun. Reload. Finish it, finish it, finish it. Good job, Scott. Search and assess. Remember this simple analogy. Quick to the gun, because that's what you're naturally going to do under stress. Bust them. So it's quick to the gun, sure of your grip. Quick to the threat, sure of your shot. Remember, you have presentation time and set time. Presentation time is the time it takes for you to get your gun out of the holster. That draw time technically will be the same no matter what distance you're at.
Don't fish on me. You're still getting a little fish at the end, okay?
Set time is the time it takes for you to actually pull that trigger. Size of your target, distance to the target is going to make your set time actually change. So presentation time remains the same. Set time is what's changing. Hey guys, we just moved to a bigger range. We should be able to do a lot more dynamic stuff now, given a little bit more distance and a little bit more width at a range.
We also have a new shooter actually going to be running a wheel gun today, and somebody that's near and dear to us all here, Mr. Ernie Costa, Chris Costa's father.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Hope we have a good day.
35 years I've been waiting for this exact moment for payback. 35 years. You're in my world now.
I'm ready for it.
All right, let's talk about tactical reloads here next. When do we want to do a tactical reload?
Time and opportunity present itself.
Time and opportunity. That's a good answer. It should be as fast as a speed reload, because you're taking the gun pretty much out of battery for a quick second, meaning that the weapon's in the workspace. It's not intended to shoot right away. It's not in the ready position. So we want to make sure that that weapon system is back up and ready to get back in the fight as soon as possible. So I like to treat my tactical reloads just like a speed reload. All right, I'll go ahead and demo it real quick, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it as we go through it. going to come in, I'm going to search and assess. All right. Now, where do you think I'm going to grab? I want to keep this critical reload magazine always there because 5 minutes from now I may go to a combat reload. I may go to slide lock. So I want to keep that there because the last thing I want to do is grab it and it's not there and then have to have an excessive waist movement. Yeah, I've got another one back here, but to me, that 3 inches is excessive waist movement under a time is left situation. We agree with that? Check. So, hey, it's value added. We're going to go for that first one. So when I make the decision, I'll come back in here, I'll search and assess. Okay, I just fired some shots. I got a long way to go today. Grab, boom, bring it right up to the gun. Now what I'm going to do is, as you can see, the way I index the mag, just like I normally would for a speed reload, I'm going to index it exactly the same, but what I like to do is I like to break this thumb off, okay? And then what I'll do is I'll just eject this mag, and then the index finger will come off and pinch that mag, okay? Now the gun and the mag's are moving over, inserting in one firm seat, okay? Even a solid seat. Some of these mags, when you pack them full, sometimes it'll hit the tops and it'll bounce back down and you don't want to get a failure to feed next time go around. So again, index comes out, open the pinch, grab it, move it over, insert it one firm time. So here's what it's going to look like. Now notice when I put the magazine back, I did take a quick second and look. Okay, now I could sit here and try to find it and fidget all day long for 3, 4, 5 seconds, or I could take a half second, put it back, and I'm done. And now I've got those extra 3 or 4 or 5 seconds to search battle space, move to the next position, continue to be that much more efficient. Okay, so just think about the efficiencies and be consistent and be deliberate. When you make a decision to do it, grab, boom, bring it up. Oh yeah, this is what I'm doing, pinch grip, move it over. Now what am I doing with this other mag? Oh yeah. Identify, place it back in, get your hands back on the gun, ready for the fight again. All right, any questions on attack reloads? Okay, we got a different wheel gun out here, different type of weapon system. Dad, can I have you come on out? We're going to talk about the wheel gun and how to do attack reload on a wheel gun, because a lot of people don't think there really is one or may not know, so we're going to go ahead and discuss that here. Now I've got an 8-shot or 7-shot Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum here. What I did is I put a couple of extra rounds in my weapon hand pocket. This is how I typically like to load. Because when I break that cylinder out, I will then hold the gun in my reaction hand. Because now my weapon hand needs to be free, get the rounds, easily insert them. So I'm going to go through that here and talk about that for a second. Now, I'm going to go ahead and fire a couple shots and then I'll simulate doing an attack reload. So all right, when I'm done firing my 3 rounds on my wheel gun, I'm going to come back into my high compress ready. I'm going to search and assess. At this point, I make a command decision to do a tactical reload. So what I'm going to do at this point is break the breech open. Now, you'll find a lot of competitive shooters will break that breech open. They'll bring it down because it's in line with their belt and where their rounds or normally their speed reloads are going to be, and they're going to be grabbing, dropping in, because gravity does help here with a revolver. Then they're going to come up and back on target. Now what's the problem with me coming down here like this? Is this my problem? No, that's my problem right there. So now if you are a competitive shooter with a wheel gun, and I do like to do a little wheel gun action sometimes, I've got to make sure I have consistency when I'm doing reloads. So instead of coming down here, I'm just going to break it here and make sure I'm not dumping them all out, because sometimes it'll happen if you got a really clean gun especially. Keep them here and load it up in your workspace, okay? So going into the tactical reload, when I make a decision, I come back high compress ready, I'll break out the cylinder, and now I've got 3 empty casings in there from what I just shot, so I'm going to take in my first priority is to throw this out. Get in my pocket, continue to search and assess. If a threat came out right now, I just close that cylinder up and continue to fight. I'm going to take the rounds out, put them in as fast as I can, smooth as I can, get the gun back into the high compress ready, now I'm ready to go again. All right? And that's probably going to be the most efficient way you can get that. Just keep in mind, it's natural to want to come down because gravity says so, but you're going to have to work that into your consistency. All right, Dad, thank you. Any questions on the wheel gun? You guys ready to try that out? Let's come on up and try it out. Get online. Load and mag ready.
From the holster, draw your gun, get your hits. Give me 2 rounds on the target. Search and assess. Do your tack reload, fire 2 more. When you are done, holster up. Done!
boom. Make a decision, go. Be deliberate, be quick.
Hold. Now look at your gun. Okay, so what we do is, I want you to put that back in the gun. Bring our new source of ammo up to the gun. Now swap it from there. Outstanding. So the downtime on the gun's very, very minimal. Threat!
Search and assess. Nobody do attack reload yet. Now do attack reload. Take your time, guys, take your time.
When you do that tack reload, right, you've got this in, you end up having like a weird grip on this thing. So you can't get it into your pouch like that. So the first thing that I'm generally doing is I'll bring the mag in, drive it off my chest, but roll in the index finger so that I can get it right back into my pouch. That'll help you.
Let's do it one more time, guys, one more time.
Boom! There you go. See how you just fixed it? All right, cease fire, guys. Range is cold. Remember that everything, once this gun has a problem, some form of problem, everything happens within your workspace. You see that we come back to the compressed ready. You see that the tack reload takes place in our workspace. Our workspace is this magical 16-inch bubble that hovers around us, okay? Whether it be a malfunction or a speed reload or any type of problem that you end up having with the weapon system. What we're looking at is you ran dry. So there's obviously a huge sense of urgency to get rounds into the gun as fast as possible. Now, couple things. Generally, based on what manufacturers do when they make these guns, you are to use the slide release, okay, to put the slide back in the battery. There's also power stroking the weapon system, okay? Now, why would you want to possibly power stroke the gun versus use the slide stop?
Momentum.
Okay, that's a little bit of controversy over people saying that as you power stroke the gun, you're actually increasing the power, therefore increasing the chances of that round seating in the chamber. But in reality, what's happening is as you pull back, what have you disengaged? What's locking the slide into position? So in reality, you're not getting any more speed. But now let's look at a lot of the body mechanics that we've covered in the past couple days. How is our admin reload? When we came out here and we admin reload, what do we do with the gun? We power stroke it, right? So look, we haven't gotten into malfunctions, but what you're going to see when you start working malfunctions is when we clear a stovepipe, our hand moves in the same position as what? Power stroking. When you have to lock slide to the rear on a double feed, what motion do you do? Come up over the top, lock slide to the rear, okay? So what you're starting to see is we're building in consistency. Now some shooters will slingshot. So they will come up and just grab the rear cock serrations and slingshot. Problem is, if you're bloody or sweaty or it's really hot or you're wet, then you're going to possibly slip off those cock serrations and not get a good stroke on the gun. So what you're trying to do is come up over the top, power stroke that gun, and then get your hand right back up on there. Now, I will tell you this. Again, it's going to be gun and manufacturer specific because some guns I am able to actually do what textbook says you're supposed to do, which is use a slide release. The bottom line here is you have to pick the technique that works for you 95% of the time, and then that's what you should do. So I can tell you generally, some guns that I run, I can't release that under stress because remember, this is a small little button right here. All right, and under stress, when your heartbeat's at about 175, we go into what? Fine, complex, or gross motor skill. Gross, we start going caveman, right? Big things, big body parts. Remember also, I'm slick. I don't have gloved hands on. You start running gloves, you also got to base the technique on how do you perform if that's how you operate. For some of you guys that are in the military and you run gloves, then if your gloves get in the way or impede that, or you are sitting here fumbling, instead of getting that gun back in the battery and back into the fight, then that's what starts to determine your 95% of success. Okay, so that's probably a couple of the most important things. What we generally will stay away from, though, is the slingshot method because the power stroke translates over to a lot of other things that we do with the gun in our workspace. Now, couple things. When the gun is out here and it goes to slide lock, all right, one of the things that I need to do that some people need to do is I have to start getting my thumb to the mag release button. Okay, that's one of the first steps. Reaction hand should always immediately start to index more ammunition. So we're trying to access more ammunition quicker. That is very important as well. So first movement is breaking the grip slightly. That's what I have to do. But for those that are running big hands, do you have to break the grip if your thumb can push the button? Should you break the grip? No, then you don't need to. So don't add in another step is my point. For me, my thumb won't reach unless I slightly break my grip. Once I break my grip, obviously this hand has come down, sweep into the body line, and that's another key feature right there. Once you're here, this hand comes in. My thumb hits the center portion of my body. So from here, my thumb hits the center portion of my body and starts to begin the sweep. I index this magazine. I come out, start here, sweep to the next magazine, and it's in. Obviously, it's extremely important, like Travis has mentioned before, consistency, so I keep my mags in the same place. Now, some people may notice that I ride my mag forward, but I still do that concealed. Okay, so I stay consistent all the way throughout. Now, whether you're shooting some types of competitions, they won't let you because you have to be behind. That's fine, but that's not where I'm keeping my gear. I'm keeping it where I can reload the fastest. So we're talking about what the reaction hand does. It's up on the gun, it index, come in, thumb hits the center line of your body, starts to sweep, drives this thing in. You also need to get a very good purchase on your magazine. That's extremely important as well, which means that my index finger is running along the magazine like this. Also, the magazine is seated deep into my hand. So when I drive this thing in with one motion, I want to seat it in one motion. Okay, just like Travis said earlier, we don't want to just tap, tap, and then get our gun into the fight. One motion, the mag goes in, put it into battery, get those rounds off. Okay, now, some people will have a hard time breaking a grip. They won't feel comfortable right here. Remember, once you break a grip, you got to re-grip the gun before you get this mag in it. Because if you have a very light grip on the gun, you're driving this thing in at how fast? 200 miles an hour. We drive at 200 miles an hour under stress. We're grabbing gear at 200 miles an hour under stress. But what portion do I have to pay attention and slow down at? Right here. Okay, so quick to the magazine. Once you get it, quick to the gun, but be sure that it's seated, and then get it in and get it back up into the fight. Also, another note to add, this is generally where, if you don't have a good grip established, most people right after they take this hand off the gun, they get back into just grabbing onto it. I call it taking what you can get. And you never know how long you're going to be in that sustained fight for, so you want to be able to get those rounds in the gun, establish a good grip, because if you have to do a non-standard response, basically running somebody to the ground, you better have a good grip on that gun, or you're going to have a lot of flyers downrange, which those flyers are liabilities, lawsuits, or even worse for possible military as well. So I'm going to fire a series of rounds, speed reload the gun, get it back up into the fight. Go to slide lock, break my grip, dump the magazine, insert, everything is done into my workspace, my hand comes up, reach back, establish a grip, search and assess. Okay, now I'm going to use a slide stop or slide release. Dump, insert, slide release. Easy to do static, a little bit tougher to do under stress. All right, one of the other things that you want to take a look at and understand is that when my weapon system is here and I break it into my workspace, some people wonder how high actually I'm bringing the gun. I'm looking over the muzzle. I'm looking over the muzzle, but my eyes are on this plane. They shift down so that I can actually insert that magazine and get the gun back up into the fight. Sometimes people will be really dramatic bringing the gun here so that they can index, and ergonomically, all that we've done is taken the straight up and down complication like this and turned it into a horizontal complication, meaning it's not flowing as fluid as it could be based on the way body mechanics are, getting the gun into the fight. So again, once I'm here, I bring the gun into my workspace. You can utilize a forearm right here to collapse into your body. That'll give you a consistent reference point. My eyes look down into the mag well, insert, regrip, and punch out. All right, so I'm gonna run it like this. Some weapon systems. This is kind of one of those things, those situations, it's gun dependent. And you're also going to have to base this, what I'm about to show you, on whether you can do this 95% of the time. If you guys can, then it's something that you might keep in keeping your inventory. If it's not, and you can't do it 95% of the time, then just stick with one particular technique, more important. Generally what will happen is on these weapon systems, the M&P, and I'm going to show you on the Beretta as well, once you're here in this position and you dump and you start to insert right here, if you get it in and you start to hit on the 90, the slide won't go forward. Okay, any hit on the 90, the slide won't go forward. But on the 45, on this angle right here, the slide will go forward. So what I try to do on this particular gun is incorporate it into one motion so I can drive my hand right into the grip. So that works on this type of weapon system. On the Beretta, same thing. On the 90, this thing generally does not work on the 90 when I hit it. Hit it up forward, I'm back up, okay? Now, let me ask you this. Does that mean that you should do that technique? What if you can use a slide release? What should you use? What should you use? What the gun was designed for. So if you can use a slide release, use it. If you can't use that, what's your next step that you should use, alternative-wise? Power stroking. If you can, 95% of the time, ensure that you can get a good speed reload by doing that on the particular guns that it does apply to, then that's something that you need to consider. That's all. I'm not saying that you have to do it. You just need to think about it. Bottom line is, what works 95% of the time? So a few different methods shown. Let me ask you this. If you had one to pick, what is probably the most effective, most efficient, that shares a lot of commonalities with others that you should probably focus on? Power stroking a gun. All right, 95% of the time, power stroking is your best option. Obviously with a wheel gun, this particular Smith & Wesson has 7 shots. So you got to take basically 7 rounds and under stress, try to get them in, try to basically get 7 little circles into 7 little circles under stress. And we haven't even started moving yet. Revolvers are great, but we've obviously started excelling to a different level with semi-autos, but nevertheless, there are really good applications for running wheel guns as well, so that's why we cover this. I'm gonna fire 7 shots, and then I'm gonna just break down the mechanics a little slow. You're gonna see, again, there's a lot of similarities to what Travis had showed earlier. Okay, so I'll punch out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, here's the key. Under stress, you're gonna get that next one. That next one is represented by a click, come off, bring the gun up into my workspace, dump, bring the gun up high so I can see what's going on, so I can look at the target. If the threat's starting to get up, change or move, I can get back up or change positions, okay? Now, let me ask you this question. If as I put that speed loader in the drum and turn it, what happens if one's kind of half in, half out? Or it falls out? What should I do? My priority is I might be down around, okay? Matter of fact, I may not be able to, and I'm under stress, I'm not going to be able to line it up into the picture perfect position. Close that cylinder, run the gun, skip past that one. It's going to give you another click, but again, knowing your weapon system is extremely important. The most key feature here, just like Travis had covered earlier, is getting this gun up into your workspace, which is a little hard and a little unusual, but trying to transfer that consistency, especially if you're the type of shooter that goes between a revolver and a semi-auto, depending upon your application. Bust them! Fire 1, go to slide lock, speed reload, fire 2. Get that gun up in your workspace, Dad. Feed it, feed it, feed it, feed it. He's getting back up, he's getting back up. Good job, good job.
Shooter, stand by.
Gun. Couple things. Do you have a hard time getting to that mag release button?
I do, yeah.
There's one little thing that you can do. So it does help some shooters. I don't know if it'll work for you. But what happens is, as you are in this position, it's hard to just drop the gun. Most people don't feel comfortable breaking that grip. So what you can do is use this finger right here, this finger, to help roll the gun into that position. So as I'm here, I start to roll, but what it does is it rolls my thumb right there. Then I go and index. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so that may help you.
Now, which technique do you want to utilize? You going to try for the power stroke, or are you trying to do the 45 bump? 45. Okay, that's going to, so you're just going to have to slow down. So when you go to slide lock, you're bringing the gun back to here. First, just rotate it in front of your face. And then from right here, I want you to come up and just concentrate, 45. And go that slow if you need to, you know? Start slow.
There you go.
remember that in your mind right now, how that felt, and try to get that every single time from here on out. I like to be the master of my weapon system instead of just another operator to it, which I think you can relate to.
Absolutely.
We issue Marines, in your case, weapon systems, and they're not the masters of those weapon systems. So they need to really think about that. You know that pulling a trigger in combat, even though we've done it, we've been in multiple combat operations, we fired lots of bullets, but it's still only 1% of our career.
Absolutely.
Right? So that other 99% sometimes takes over, and then nobody takes pride in that 1% again.
Right.
But people don't understand why we need to take so much pride, why that 1% has a truer meaning.
Sure.
Because you have 1% you can't screw up.
Exactly.
That's life or death, you know. So that's why we try to put our foot in each other's asses every once in a while and say, hey, no, let's come up with new things. Yeah, it's keeping an open mind, and it's not being absolute.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Jack.
This is going to be our BSA drill, the balance for speed and accuracy drill. And what it is, it's a template that we built that helps us in training replicate what we do under stress. Okay, we have a certain zone that we shoot at, and there's a couple of reasons why. So this BSA drill is going to concentrate on that. What it is we want to see center mass hits. That's why we've got this circle right here. We want to see what we can keep inside that circle. Now, the theory is some of you guys are really good shooters. But as we move back to 25 yards, we want to continue to push that failure point. We want to not see little tight rat hole groups, because what does that mean?
Taking too much time.
You're taking too much time. Okay, that's one scenario. But say you're the guy that's coming out of the holster and you're smoking that thing and you're doing it in a second. You got 2 seconds, so you got a whole second, you're just sitting there waiting for everybody else to get done. But your holes are still touching. Or is that guy pushing his failure point?
No.
So that person can individually progress forward. So that's what we want to see. Now, if you're shooting outside that line, at the 3-yard line, what do you think you need to do?
Slow down.
Slow down. What if it takes you 3 seconds to do that? That's your skill level, and that's okay.
Our goal with this BSA drill is to get you up to 175. It's to get your heart rate up. It's to get that stress. It's to create the stress, and it's to put a time limit on you, which is called pressure. And that pressure and stress is going to start increasing your failure points, and that is okay. But this is where a lot of people have a hard time with this. You know, we all want to be successful. We all want to have the tightest group possible. But again, will you stand in front of a guy that has a loaded gun when it's your kid right here? When it's my kid right there, I'm telling you that my gun is coming out and it is game time. I'm in offensive mode. People may differ with that, but I'm offensively trying to drop that guy right now, because I don't care about that person. I care about my kid, my son, my daughter, get my children out of the way coming up, driving out, and neutralizing that threat. That is my only priority right now. He decided to do something, I now have a response to that. I have a responsibility to my children. I have a responsibility to my family. If I'm around other civilians, I have a responsibility to them. You know, Travis did say that, you know, sometimes leaving might be the best option, and that is true. But sometimes if you are going to get that gun out, you better understand the mechanics involved. So the fact of the matter is, the balance of speed and accuracy, what this drill is designed for, is for you to drive at 200 miles an hour. Things start to come apart at 200 miles an hour. And that is okay, because it's okay for them to come apart out here. What we don't want to do is we don't want them to come apart when it's you at a Wendy's or you at the mall with your family or the food court, and 2 scumbags come in there and start shooting everybody, okay? That's what we're looking at here. The measurement of your success is, yes, trying to make the time, trying to get your hits, understanding where your failure point is, and understanding that this is the start. This is the start. You don't get a 300 out of 300 in our class. You don't get a overall, you got an A today. You get a level of understanding where you are and where you need to go to. But where you need to go to is wide open territory. That territory is completely uncharted for you. And that's where you go. There's no ranking system here.
All right, guys, here we go with the demonstration on the BSA drill. Chris is going to go ahead and fire, but first I want to give you a demonstration of just a buzzer alone. This is what 2 seconds sounds like. All right, 2 seconds in a gunfight's a lifetime. All right, Chris, you ready?
Yep.
Shooter, stand by. That was 1.37. Shooter, stand by. .3. All right, so now he's going to fire 3 rounds. Shooter, stand by. 1.5. Now he's going to fire 4 rounds.
The goal of this is not to get comfortable. So I was comfortable at 2, 3, I'm starting to step it up a little bit more. 4, I'm starting to really, fundamental-wise, there might be a breakdown here, but that's okay. Starting to really push it.
4 shots. Stand by. 1.6. So it only 1/10 of a second to fire that 4th shot. At this range, of course. Let's push this failure point. Let's try for 5. 5 shots. Stand by. 6 shots in 2.1. Okay, so that's his failure point. And a little fumble there, I think.
Little fumble, just grabbing my gun that fast. But how fast do we grab our gun in a gunfight? At 200 miles an hour, all right? The important thing is, obviously I got my hits in there. That one's a little low on the bottom, but once it's on the inside of that line, I'm still good to go. Fact of the matter is that that's what it is. You either start decreasing that time when you're getting good or increasing the round count, all right?
And we're gonna come by and adjust you individually. If we see that you are at a individual skill level that can progress, we're gonna progress you. It's performance driven, all right?
You guys ready to shoot?
All right, guys, here we go. 3-yard line, 2 rounds, 2 seconds. Keep them all in the green. Stand by. .295, guys, .295. Back it up to me. 7-yard line. Here we go. 7-yard line, 2 rounds and 2 seconds. Stand by. Job, guys, looking good. All right, moving back to the 10. Safe at decock and holster. We're gonna move back to the 15 now. Move back to the 15. Stand by. Keep them in the green. Failure point, failure point. If you're hitting your failure point, guys, fix what you need to fix. Let's move back to the 25. 2 shots at the 25. Apply the same fundamentals you've been doing. All right, let's move back to the 35. We have not gone into the kneeling position yet, but you're about to learn on the fly. But right now, you're going to get 4 seconds to drop to the kneeling and draw at the same time, just like you've been doing. So you're going to grab your gun, you're going to drop to the knee, bringing the gun out, and as soon as you hit the ground, you should have the sights up on target. Give me 2 shots. All right, here we go. Stand by. Yeah, sniper, we got to work on you. Let's move back to the 50. That target's going to be completely blurry, so that front sight's going to take up most of the target. Just center that blade up. You got 4 seconds from the kneeling position, 1 shot. Stand by. All right, let's head down and check our targets, guys. Which one's your last shot?
This was up close in the green for the 15. When we get to after the 15, that's where I opened up a little bit.
Do you remember what your high right was?
I went to the high right when I went for a headshot. That way I would remember it.
When did you do a headshot?
That was the last one. When you said.
On the 50-yard line?
Yeah.
You shot at the head at 50 yards?
Oh, you said I missed.
There you go. Yeah. That's why we don't shoot the head.
What do you think these are right over in here? Because these are all combat effective on them right now.
I rushed the trigger.
Okay.
We got back there a little ways. I realized I was running out of time and slapped the trigger.
And that's it. So problem solving.
Because I don't get discouraged when I see this, because that's combat. That's combat effective. I mean, obviously we know where we're aiming at. Our point of aim is, but if that was reality, you can't ask for better than that between what you just did. Between those ranges.
Obviously, we're hitting failure points. A couple things. Obviously, we're pushing yardage. And not only that, people may look at this and be a little disgusted. And the fact of the matter is, until you come out here and you start trying to run that in 2 seconds, you know, it's like, then come talk to me.
All right, guys, that's just a quick taste of the BSA. We're going to continue to do that more. That's just about a quarter of it. Okay, we're still going to keep pushing up back later, but we're going to get more into the technical stuff, but I want you to continue to incorporate that why. into the shooting for the rest of the day, rest of the days, the rest of your life. Okay.
As you guys can see, when we start putting that time constraint on, we start we start increasing that distance, those groups start to expand. So our goal is obviously to tighten the groups up. There's limitations. We all have limitations. We all kind of saw, like, in general, as a group, you can kind of sneak a little bit. I call it basically sneaking, not that you're trying to do it, but the bottom line is, you're not either, possibly hearing that button, second buzzer going off, but you're not really maximizing pushing yourself. As you saw individually, though, that's when that buzzer's right there, all of a sudden, it was floating in the middle of the range, and you were fine, shot really good, and then it comes up behind you, and now, again, that stress is right there. So it's creating, in a sense, a little bit of a safe body alarm response, which is forcing you to ride that gun harder, which starts duplicating what's going to happen under stress. Okay, that is a slight taste of what is starting to happen under stress, because you are trying to just get that gun out and get those rounds off. But we're asking you to keep them within a reasonable combat effective zone. We ask you to make that hit because it gives us a good reference point in regards to skill. You have to possess a certain amount of skill when you come out here. Can't shoot everywhere on a target, but it is also important to understand that, does a round up here start to have a positive effect on a target? Does one down here start to have a positive effect? That is true. Now, we want to try to not launch liabilities past a threat, but hits outside that 8-inch zone, they are going to have some form of an effect on the target. Now, does that mean it's going to drop them? Not necessarily, but does that start to change the behavior of the threat? Does that mean he can get his rounds off as effectively when you shoot him over here in this portion of his arm? Or now his mobility is starting to get a little inhibited because you're starting to shoot him in the pelvis just because you ended up getting a quick low shot on him really fast. So you are always having a positive effect if you can keep it on the person himself. Okay, but we strive for excellence, which is getting our group a little bit tighter. All right, guys, we have a lot of drills to do still. Let's gas them up.
Let's start incorporating some malfunctions into our training. I like to knock out the malfunctions kind of early on, so as you start having them, which maybe some of you guys have already had, you've already been there. So we're going to knock it out right now. That's why we cut the BSA a little short, so we can do this, and then we're going to get back into that in case you do have those malfunctions, you're prepared. There's only 4 types of malfunctions a semi-automatic pistol can have. Okay, that is scientifically proven. Now, yes, there's other ammo malfunctions, there's mechanical malfunctions, but we're not talking about those. So there's only 4 malfunctions a handgun can have unless it's mechanically broken. Okay, those four malfunctions we can fix right there on the spot. I like to break them down and isolate each malfunction and concentrate on the fundamental, on the technique that works to clear that particular malfunction. Now, again, a part of that institutional inertia thing that I keep talking about, all our lives we've been taught to immediate action, tap, rack, bang. Some of you guys may have been taught that. Some of you new shooters may have never even heard that before. Basically what that means is I have an immediate problem with my gun. I don't know what's wrong with it. So tap the magazine to make sure it's seated because that might fix some problems. Power stroke the gun because that might fix some problems, and then attempt to fire again. And if that doesn't work, then you go into a remedial action, which means basically take down the gun. Lock the slide to the rear, take all the source out of it of ammo, take the ammo out of the chamber, clear the gun out completely like you're about to do an administrative reload on the gun, and then get the gun back up with a speed reload, get back into the fight. That would be remedial, being worst case scenario. So identifying each one of these malfunctions is crucial, and only because it makes you a better problem solver, which obviously makes you a better shooter, and it makes you understand the mechanics of the gun. So instead of just being told, hey, tap, rack, bang, or strip it and then rebuild the problem to kind of find a solution, let's just identify it and find a solution just like that, and you'll see the efficiency that goes into it. We have a very simple solution for this. The solution is identifying a certain point on the handgun. That certain point is the rear of the slide. All right, we've got a 10 degree tilt. The 10-degree tilt, what it is when I am extended and something's wrong with this gun, whether it's a mushy trigger or it's a dead trigger or click, okay? I look right here. I have 2 points of identification, here and then in the chamber, okay? But do I need to bring the gun back to look at that? All I got to do is right here, 10-degree tilt is right there. So if something's wrong with this gun and it will not fire, this 10-degree tilt right now will allow me to problem solve all 4 of those malfunctions. Because it's telling me what's wrong, and therefore I can tell the gun a solution. So 10-degree tilt, that's it. First point is right here. What I'm looking for right here is to see if the gun is in battery, and I'm sure I probably got a click at that point, which means what? Failure to fire, failure to feed. Okay, and then there's a solution for that will give it. The other one here is out of battery. If it's out of battery, it's going to look like that. So you can see my one stop is going to tell me if it's out of battery or failure to feed. Failure to feed, again, the gun looks perfectly normal. If I tilt it up, what am I looking into now? Looking at the chamber area. That'll tell me if I have a stovepipe or a double feed. Those are your 4 malfunctions that you're pretty much going to have with a gun. All right, so let's work through the first one, failure to feed. Here's what it's going to look like. You maybe did a tack reload. You did an improper administrative reload. So we're going to extend out. I'm going to get a shot. I'm going to attempt to fire my second shot, and I'm going to get a click. That click automatically tells me, as I'm looking at the rear of the slide, that I had a misfire. What's the solution? Tap, power stroke, bang. Okay, that is the only time that you will find yourself doing a tap, rack, bang amongst the 4 malfunctions. Pretty simple, right? Tap, rack, bang. Type 2 malfunction, okay, which is sometimes, that's what the textbook term is called for this, is out of battery, but we're just going to call it out of battery. Military, law enforcement, sometimes you guys will hear them called types. Just throwing that out as a reference. Out of battery, this is what happens. The problem, the slide is cycled, picked up a fresh round, it has extracted the spent casing, and now it's coming home. Most of the time, especially on 1911s when they get dirty, you'll find this happening. It'll just kind of just fail to go all the way home because of the carbon buildup in there. Now, what would be the typical answer for this? Tap, rack, bang, right? If that would be the immediate action for this type of malfunction. Well, breaking that down further into the mechanics, what am I doing by, oh shit, it's out of battery, tap, racking that good round out, reacquiring a grip and sight alignment, and then shooting again? What did I just do there? I added excessive waist movements. So if I just 10-degree tilt on my first checkpoint, I can see it's out of battery. It's going to look just like that. All I need to do is what? Put it back in battery. So I'm doing 1 motion vice 3. So that's how we break in the efficiency with malfunctions. And what I did to fix that, instead of going, oh, there's something wrong with my gun, start hitting it and moving things, I'm taking that second that I told myself there's something wrong with my gun to also go, and it's an out of battery. Fix it. All right, so that's what it's going to look like again in full speed. So I'm going to call it. Faster. Hitting the rear of the slide, that's all we're doing. That will correct that with minimal excessive waist movements. All right, next malfunction, the stovepipe. What we're going to do is we're going to set this up. This is going to be a little bit weird the first time you set it up. What I like to do is take the back strap of the gun, put it in my chest. I'm going to safely pull back the slide just enough where I have control now with my body, and insert that brass casing in there on top of the slide and let the slide ride home on it. Now, what would be the typical answer for this? Immediate action, right? Tap, rack, bang. Okay? What are we tapping the magazine for? We know what the malfunction is. So again, we're problem solving. I see the 10-degree tilt, checkpoint 2. Obviously, I've got a big giant hunking piece of brass sticking out of my gun. It's pretty self-explanatory what I need to do here. So instead of tapping and racking, and now look what happens, even when I'm getting a good rear to the slide power stroke, where's my hand? See it hitting that? And some of you guys have some pretty large hands, and that's going to cover that. And I've seen guys try to fix this with a tap, rack, bang, and it's caused an inverted stovepipe or inline stovepipe, which is obviously a little bit harder to clear, or cause a double feed. So we don't want that to happen. So again, we're going to problem solve. So instead of tapping, racking, oh shit, now I got a double feed, lock, strip, rack, 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 gas it up and go, I can simply just go identify, sweep. So now I've turned 3 motions into 1 motion. So that's the efficiency working for the stovepipe. And obviously it's very easy to identify and it's very easy to problem solve. It's a simple sweep. The key thing we need to look for on the sweep is we're not coming up in front of the muzzle. So that's a safety point with this. All I'm doing is basically breaking the hand off and sweeping back just far enough and getting the hand right back on the gun. Don't come off and sweep all the way back to your arm. It's not needed. It just very light pressure will bring that casing out. There's already another round trying to go into the chamber, so you should be ready to go as soon as the casing comes out. Any questions on that? All right, let's talk about the worst malfunction, the double feed. This is worst case scenario. This is going to require remedial action. If I get a double feed in a time is life, close quarters gunfight, what do you think I'm gonna do? Am I gonna stand there and try to fix this? Even me going full speed, which I'll try to go here in a second, will take me about probably 5 to 6 seconds to clear this out. You guys saw from the BSA template in 2 seconds how long that is. Now imagine being in an active gunfight and having a malfunction. And when things go wrong, they go wrong very fast. Now imagine getting shot, okay? Now you're shot, maybe it's a leg, maybe you're on the ground and you're trying to clear this thing out under that 5 to 6 seconds. Maybe you're shot in the arm. You ever thought about clearing a malfunction with single hand only? How do you lock the slide to the rear with one hand? Okay, we'll get into that later. But it does get worse. That's what my point is here. So for the double feed, let's set it up. I'm gonna take that round out of the chamber. I'm gonna drop it down in the chamber manually. I'll then take my magazine. Try not to lift the gun up because the round will come out. Keep it down, insert the magazine, ride the slide home towards the round. Now you see a double feed in there. When I drive out to attempt to fire, you're gonna feel a mushy trigger. When I identify 10 degrees right here, I see a double feed. I don't need to bring it back and go, oh my God. I can see it right here at the 10-degree tilt. So what do I do first? What's the first step you think I would do to try to problem solve this? Pull the magazine out? Okay, it's one option. Or you can what? Why would we want to lock the slide back before we pull the magazine out?
Keep driving around.
Okay, because sometimes, right now I cannot drop that out because you got a locking bar effect in there. This is what you're looking at. That's what's happening in there, sometimes even a little bit more. Trying to pull that out when there's metal on all sides of it, it does cause some friction. So sometimes you can't get it out, especially if you're bloody, you're slippery, you're all wet. So what we like to do is leave the pressure, strip the magazine, see how it fell out almost naturally there? Now what am I gonna do? Okay, it's still around the chamber, right? Rack? How many times should I rack it? Okay, 3 times. Well, we want to do it 3 times, James.
The Marine Corps tells us to.
The Marine Corps tells us to. That's institutional nurse at its best right there. Well, the reason I like to do it 3 times is because if it's nighttime, I don't know if it's clear. Now, Big Boy Rule says daytime. What do you think I should do at that point? Gas it up and go. Okay, because Big Boy Rules, I understand my weapon system. I know when it's going to be clear. However, the way I like to train consistently is to do it 3 times because I know all the time that's going to work. I know 95% of the time, like Costa was saying earlier, is going to work. Now, let's go ahead and do that a little quicker. All right, Chris has got the buzzer here. We're going to time it to see how long it takes me to go full speed trying to clear a double feed malfunction. Four, three, three.
Good job.
So that's going as fast as I can. That's almost 5 seconds, 4.5 seconds roughly there. That's in a perfect world. Nobody's shooting back at me. You know, kids aren't running around. There's not a dynamic 360-degree environment right here. So that time could probably be magnified by sometimes tenfold because if I see that, I'm probably moving. And we're going to talk about offline of attack and all the movement and stuff here in a little bit. But think about that in reality. So you're not going to sit there and just fix it, but problem solve is a key point here. That is crucial. Identification is the first thing. Just like when we're going to start shooting and moving, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to orient, right? We're going to observe. Same thing here. Something happens to the gun, I need to orient the gun so I can observe, so I can give it an actual answer that it needs, not sit here and just do all kinds of crazy stuff. I see it every class. I see it in the military. I see it in the law enforcement. I see it with people that come out just as competition shooters. They have a malfunction and they give it the wrong answer. Whether you win or lose out here, if you want to look at it as a game, will determine whether you live or die. So that's the seriousness. That's the truth behind it. So problem solve, problem solve, problem solve. That's what's going to make us better shooters, guys. Okay?
All right, guys, we do have a revolver out here, and things need to be handled slightly different. So, Dad, could you come on out, please? Okay, for the revolver, you could have a misfire, but obviously there's no magazine here. There's nothing that you're going to end up tapping. Once the cylinder gets into the locked position, what do you think? And this is how you have to break this down. You have to understand at least the fact that you're not out there counting rounds, but you should have an understanding of, did you just load your gun? Have you shot it yet? If I just loaded this revolver, put it on my side, I haven't fired it yet, I come out of the holster, pull the trigger, 1, 2 rounds go off, and the next one goes click, what do you think I should do? Because I can't tap and rack it, right? So in a sense, I've had a, what type of malfunction have I had there? Ammunition problem, right? What's that? Okay, could be a hang fire, misfire. But obviously, what am I going to do? Pull the trigger again, because the cylinder is going to rotate that torpedo to that next slot, okay? And then you're going to run that gun. So a little bit of common sense and problem solving has to take over, knowing the condition of your weapon, being the weapons master and not its bitch, okay? So the fact remains, if you pull the trigger and it goes click, pull the trigger one more time. Now, there's another time that this could actually happen to you as a shooter if you're running a wheel gun, and that is, does anybody know when? Notice, yeah, an empty chamber. And why would that happen, Matt? What, okay, tactical reload, or what happens sometimes on a speed reload? There in this particular revolver are 7 little holes that you need to get 7 little bullets into. What is likely to happen if you've messed with speed loaders before? One will drop out, right? Or 2. So sometimes what will end up happening here is you just don't, you didn't get it in there. What do you think your priority is at this point? Pick that one up off the ground, then close it after you reload it, or just close that cylinder and get it in a fight. But you know, or you should have enough situational awareness because you just got that speed loader in there, turned it through it, and you saw that one fall out. You should have enough situational awareness to know at some point that's going to come back into play again.
All right, here's the drill, guys. We're going to fire 2 rounds. 2 rounds. If you encounter a malfunction inside those 2 rounds, problem solve and fix it. What we're looking for first is what?
10-degree tilt.
Yeah, but also use that click. This is one of the only malfunctions that the 10-degree tilt kind of works with. I just kind of identify the slide to, again, make sure that there's nothing else going wrong with it, but that click should tell you to tap, rack, bang. Here we go, stand by. Up!
What I'm finding about half the time when I go over to do my power stroke is I'm actually putting the weapon back on safe when I do the power stroke.
Okay, I find myself doing that too on a Beretta. That's why I use this as a reference point. I grab the safety, and as I power stroke back, it should stay in the up position. Threat. Because that's what your intent is, right?
Right.
You want to do the 45 palm heel.
Yeah, I just got to make sure.
That's the consistency
But
you
I
need to go for in your reload.
when I do that, if it doesn't go home, I've got to get down going to the power stroke as opposed to the swing stroke. Okay.
Just keep going slow there. That's where your point. We got to slow down and make sure you feel that thing, man, and pull it up and back. Boom. Okay, guys, we're going to set up for the next malfunction, failure to battery. You can attempt right now to pull your slides back just a little bit. So if your gun can't go out of battery, visualize it out of battery. Fantasy land, man. Okay, because that is repetition for your brain. Here we go. Stand by. Gun. Hit it. Set it up. Attempt to fire. Threat. Identify it, look at it, hit it. Good job, Matt. That's what we want to see.
Once you load your guns up, set them up with the stovepipe. Grab an empty casing off the ground.
All right, guys, reach down, pick up a piece of brass, safely set it back up again. Threat. Identify it. There you go. Good. Identify, sweep. All right, guys, what we're going to do now is concentrate a little bit more on accuracy. All right, we're back at 25 yards. This is back to the fundamental building blocks. We've been doing a lot of BSA time drills, trying to press the stress a little bit, but right now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to those core fundamentals, and we're going to push accuracy at as far back as we can get for right now. We're going to go back even farther later, but right now we're going to do a 10, round warm-up drill from the 25. It's something we like to do every time we come out to the range, and I kind of like to end the day on it as well. So Chris is going to go ahead and run through what the drill is going to look like. You take your time, you're on your own. If you want to stop in between shots, reset, take a break, punch back out and acquire all those fundamentals to get that shot, that's fine. If you think you can stay out there and fire 1 or 2 and come back in, it's up to you, as long as you are maximizing your fundamentals at your skill level to get every one of those hits inside that green zone. Chris is going to demonstrate on the steel right now, so we don't have to replace any targets here, but you can also see the report a little bit easier.
And I'm going to work a couple fundamentals so you can see if I have an actual problem. You'll be able to see it really, really easy on a steel. All right, we're going to go hot. This is where you guys are going to start working on your breathing, your trigger control, breaking your shot on your natural respiratory pause. All right, couple factors. I shot the steel. I've got one up a little high, one off to the right, one down below, one back off to the left, one low. Then what started happening? What did you see after that?
Tighten up.
Start tightening up. Okay, so I'm giving examples of there's a little bit of gun sway going on there. Okay, there's also not good trigger placement on there, so I was right in the right edge of the trigger. Slow press, boom, pop that one to the right. Then how did I get that shot low? How do you think I ended up getting that shot low? Where do you think I put my finger on the trigger next to cause that influence? Where?
The base.
Okay, the base, just like you've had some problems there. Okay, then from there, I ran it where? A little bit left. So I broke that shot left, and then after that, then I just started tightening those up. So you got to really take your time on those fundamentals. So if you don't take your time on the fundamentals, then you're going to be all over the place like I first started out, as an example, and then you've got to slow yourself down, break your shot off on your natural respiratory pause, realize that you're firing, slow press to the rear, gun goes off. If you choose to take another follow-up shot, reset, slack, press. If you're running a double single gun on this drill, you can thumb cock your hammer. Okay, on this drill only, all right? Any questions?
Again, holster up.
Holster up.
We're going to go down here in a second and check out our shot groups. But also I want you to think as you're walking down there, and like I told a couple of you guys, there's a critical thing that you can do back here that's going to help you understand how your sight alignment's working, how your trigger control is working. It's called calling your shots. Now some of you guys might be familiar with rifles and calling shots. Basically we'll sit there in a prone and fire a shot and you guess where your shot just went based on the relationship of the front sight and the rise on the target. And then we'll get little data sheets and we'll mark it down. Okay, I think I jerked the trigger a little bit and it went up and to the left. I felt the front sight, the gun moved to the left. And then when the target results come up, yep, I'm correct. That means fundamentally I'm doing what I need to do. I'm finding what the problem is, and now I know what to do next time. Same thing with a handgun. But what you're going to really watch for is you got that clear front sight out there. You're going to watch for the front sight. When the shot breaks, you're going to see that front sight go somewhere too. Sometimes it might rise up and to the left. So as you start becoming more proficient at shooting, start to try to memorize that point of where it goes. And that should give you enough information to say, yeah, that shot just went up and to the right. And this is why. Before you even look at your results down range. And then when you open your eyes and look down range, you should see that shot there. If not, you need to figure out what fundamentally is wrong. So maybe you guys can do that when you go down and check your targets right now and see that those shots are either where they're supposed to be or where they're not. Let's go down range and check them out. You know how to call your shots, right? What I was talking about?
Yes, sir.
Could you see those diving down even? Sometimes the front sights will go down.
Yeah, especially the ones off the circle there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Drury, how about you?
Consistently, my issue is anticipating it, and so I push down. That's really what I was trying to get away from, and
it's coming up.
I put them up.
So you corrected that, but you're going the other way now.
Yeah.
How did you correct it?
Just making sure a nice slow press, and really more of a mental game of.
Okay, concentrate isolating that trigger straight to the rear, and that's hard for some people to do because there's a lot of movement in there. Even though you think it's coming straight to the rear, sometimes it's going to the left or going to the right.
Nice job.
Thank you. When I take the time to actually get set and think about everything I'm doing, it pays off.
Great shooting though.
Thank you.
That's not bad either. You know, obviously, you know, ammo is going to be specific. I'll tell you, generally, military ammo is pretty hot. Yeah. So, but that's very, very important because you need to know a little bit of your, I hate to say dope on something like this, but sometimes I can shoot reloads, and reloads are slightly different, you know. Now, obviously, that's 25 yards, so.
If you need to offset aim.
Yeah, just a little bit. On yours, what are we doing over here? Because a lot of that, you've got a group right off to the left with about 4 shots that are consistent over there.
I didn't have enough left hand into the gun when I got a little bit more pressure on my left hand.
So that could be a path release resistance issue?
Yeah, maybe I had a little bit too much trigger.
Okay.
A little bit too much finger in the trigger, so I looked at my trigger placement and re-gripped the gun and brought them back into the middle.
Which one is it, Scott?
A little bit of both, sir.
You're confusing me.
I had
All right, what we're going to do next is a ball and dummy drill from the 25-yard line, continuing working on our accuracy and fundamentals only out here. What the drill is very simple. I'm going to take Chris's weapon system. He's going to hand it to me, and I'm going to grab it, and he's going to say hot gun. Okay, just working the terminology. I'm going to take that hot gun out of his hand. I'm going to set his gun up whether it either has a round in the chamber or it doesn't have a round in the chamber. Now, if you're at home doing this or out on the range by yourself, a good way to do this without a partner is to get some snap caps, and you can load maybe 1 or 2 in your mags. Get like a bunch of mags laid out, put just 1 round of that snap cap in each one of those magazines, and therefore when you come across that in your training, you can either treat it as a malfunction, which is good for malfunctions, or for like this case, what we're trying to focus on is that anticipation. Are you jerking the trigger? What are you doing? And then on the live round, what you're going to see here, because Chris is not going to know what I'm going to set up in his gun. So we're trying to get him to anticipate. We're trying to get him to jerk the trigger. We're going to see where his inefficiencies are, where his failure point is on this. And that's what you want to hear. You don't want to see any movement in that trigger.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to set him up again. Good. You can play little tricks on them. You don't have. You can go 4, 5, 6 in a row, non-fire. You can just go every other one. Mix it up. Hot gun. That's what you want to see. So we're going to go for 10 live rounds. Got it?
What I wasn't doing, but this is what you're trying to identify, is watch the muzzle this time. See that little bit of jerkiness down? That's starting to give you guys information, and that information is important. That information is telling you that you're not pressing to what? The rear. You're not just pressing it straight back. So when we do this drill, all what you're looking for is you're looking to keep that muzzle as flat as possible and then just hear or feel that trigger go off. On a lot of shooters, if you're anticipating the shot, you're gonna see that gun jerk, okay, because you're ready for it to go off. So again, just a highlight on that. That's what we're looking for. So as partners, you need to be able to let your student know, in a sense, did it jump or not.
Just because you're back here at the 25 doesn't mean loosen up on your grip and stuff. Keep it tight, just like if you were shooting out the 3-yard line, so you can isolate that trigger and you can really feel that thing coming straight to the rear and continuously isolating that, and that's all. If you have a weak grip, as you move that trigger, everything's gonna move. It's mechanical, right? Okay, let's go ahead and line it up and we'll partner you guys up. 25-yard line. All right, for you guys that are running auto guns, if you have a loaded chamber indicator on your weapon system, don't cheat. Okay, if your partner, if you see that loaded indicator chamber, go ahead and cover it up as you hand it to him or her. Okay? Okay, so you're gonna, one's gonna turn away and not look what's going on. All right. Just like now you're doing that 10 round warm up like we just did. You're doing the same thing, just give me one shot. Okay, and you can watch, you can kind of see if his finger's going in like this, or it's coming straight back, or if it's pulling back out this way, you can watch the knuckle.
A little bit, not much.
I don't know. I don't care about the wobble. Did it go down? Did the wobble's not?
Yeah, the wobble's there, just a little bit.
I'm closing my left eye a bit to get that target acquisition.
Yeah, that's common. Dependent upon, now we know that we want to, and generally up close and personal, obviously under a body alarm reaction, you're not going to be able to close your eyes. They're going to bug out of your head because you're taking in so much information.
You're watching his finger and you're also trying to watch the target too. And then you can talk to him and tell him, hey, what did you do? So this is a good point for you to learn how to teach him what's wrong. So now not only are you used to calling your own shots, but you're trying to help him work through his fundamentals too.
The thing about this is, if you just load the gun, it's hard to see that shot, whether they're anticipating or not. Looks pretty good. It was a little down, not much. It's not as snappy as you normally see. Ah, that time you did.
All right, we're going to get into positions here. What's the best way to get in the kneeling position? Anybody?
Straight down.
Straight down.
Step out.
Step out. Okay, drop straight down, step out. Okay, let's talk about stepping out. All right, we're going to work through the motions here. Now I've been taught a lot of different ways. I'm sure some of you guys have as well. Stepping and drawing, right? Is that what you're talking about, Scott?
Sure.
Okay, and then dropping that knee into place and engaging. You can step backwards as well. Some people will do that, step backwards and engage, okay? Now, think about the mechanics. What's the priority?
Getting down.
Getting down. Good, Willie. So getting down, taking cover, because oh my God, I see something. There's a threat. I perceive, observe. After I've oriented, I see I've taken in information on a threat. It tells me, hey man, change planes in the battlefield. Maybe that will take his action, because I'm reacting to his action, right? And we know action's always quicker than reaction. So now by me changing my course of action quick as I can, now that causes him to react to what I just did. So hopefully then now I own the fight instead of him owning the fight, which he did, now I do. It's kind of confusing, but you get the point. So what I like to do is drop straight where I stand, okay? Because I may have somebody right behind me. I may have my kid right here. I may be in a stack and there's a bunch of other police officers or military guys right next to me or in front of me, or I'm in a ship and I'm really narrow and I'm looking down a hallway or something. So I'll drop right in place. Now I want you guys to watch my feet. So I'm going to drop in slow motion here. My priority is dropping. See that? Now, again, everybody's different. We've got different muscle, bone structures and everything, but generally we can kind of fall in this position. If you need to scoot your foot out, some guys will do that to make it feel a little bit more comfortable. If you got really bad knees, I do, I've had both my knees reworked, but it's a little bit painful, but I know under stress, boom, dropping straight down is typically going to be more effective and efficient than taking a step forward or backward because I'm settling into that step, where this I'm already settled. So that's kind of the mechanics there. I'm going to go ahead and live fire demo it. And I'll demo the first one taking a knee by stepping forward. All right?
Good.
How many search and assesses did I do right there, by the way?
At every level.
Okay, why is that?
Because your field of vision is going to change as you go from low to high and high to low.
It's a different perspective in the battlefield on different planes, correct? So we need to make sure that we're clearing those different perspectives. All right, so I'm taking a step there. Now, I'm going to drop straight into place. All right, you see the efficiency working there? Okay, and I'm in my normal natural stance. If you guys can't do this, again, if you need to take a small step, that's fine. But nothing changes up top. My body, if this gun was out right now and I needed to take a quick drop into the kneeling, my body stays the same up top. Okay? Because you'll see a lot of guys that'll be out and they'll settle in and then they'll bring the gun back out. So we want to minimize that useless movement. There's no reason for that. Stay up on your sights. The draw. When am I doing the draw? Willie said it perfect a second ago. Priority is to get down first, right? So I'm moving. I'm orienting my body, and then the gun's coming out in slow motion. It should look like this. Boom. Okay. We'll do it one more time live fire, and then we'll do it.
Stand by. Bust.
Sometimes situationally you may find yourself in two knees, okay, depending on the situation. If that's the situation, then that's fine. Say you're being held up in a store and the guy makes you get on both knees, put your hands up. That's a situation you might find yourself in, and you may have an opportunity to draw and shoot. We'll actually get an opportunity to do that tomorrow in a concealed section. But my theory on that is efficiency. Is it efficient? Okay, when I drop down to two knees and engage, a lot of guys will do that because they think it's more stable. Okay, but now if I need to get up and move, that's my problem. Now it's not as efficient for me to get up and move. So where if I drop right into position, boom, I can move right back out dynamically if I need to. So that's how I break it down, because it's a hard decision. I mean, it's like a little fine line there. It's like they're both very, very effective. But is one more efficient? That's what I'm looking at. You know, they're on the effective chart, they're up here. But are they more efficient? That's what I'm going to choose. That's the anal retentiveness that I'm looking for in a position. So I want it all. I want the full Monty if I can get it. And that's typically what I'm going to find the benefit being there with one knee and dropping dynamically into that one solid position.
All right, guys. Range is hot. Load and make ready. Get that gun up in your workspace, Dad. All right, guys. 2 rounds on my command. You're going to fire 2 rounds. Kneeling position. Gun. Get out. Don't forget to search and assess. Once you stand up, search and assess. When we stand up, is our finger on the trigger or off the trigger? Off. Outstanding. Shooter, stand by. Gun. Reload, reload. Mag out, mag in. Beat it.
All right, Scott, I want you to try to just drop straight in position. Can you do that for me real slow without moving your feet? Just try it real slow. No, come back up. Slower. Just ease on down into it, or your knees. Boom. That's it right there. Can you do that a little faster next time, or does that hurt?
Oh, I got it.
You guys are going to fire 2 standing, 2 kneeling. Stand by. Bust them.
Keith, just stay on that gun. Stay on that soft sight pitcher, because you were at a hard sight, boom, boom. Soft sight, drop to the ground. As soon as your knee hits the ground, you're right there and you're ready to take those other shots. 2. Drop.
All right, we're starting to shoot in different improvised shooting positions. One of the ones that we're going to do is supine. A lot of times we try to drive our energy forward as much as we can, but there are times sometimes when you're running, you might be doing an engagement, start running, try to get out of that bad situation, turn around, do an engagement again because you're by yourself, obviously, so you don't have levels of security to provide you that cover as you're moving from point A to point B. I might even be dragging my kid and actually moving them from this position, stopping, doing an engagement, grabbing my gun, doing it again. There's a good tendency as you are doing that movement that you could slip, trip, or fall. And if you slip, trip, or fall and you hit that deck, then your priority is what? If you have to do a shoot, it's get those rounds off. There's some different things that you need to look at to be safe in doing this. Not only that, but home defense scenario. You know, you come out, you're startled, you grab your gun, you're starting to clear your house. Hopefully you've called 911 and there's some other measures in place. But if you're trying to negotiate to your priority, which for me would be moving to my children's room at that point, and all of a sudden I slip on a truck or some Legos that you left out, and all of a sudden I'm on my back and a threat presents itself, I properly ID it. It is an armed intruder. At that point, do I need to get back up to engage that threat? No, if I can, I'll start shooting underneath my kitchen table. I'll start trying to utilize that position as a position of advantage at that point. Remember though, once you get on the ground, get your gun out, get it employed, but also remember that you don't want to stay on your back for too long. So once you get those rounds off and they are having an effect, try to get up as fast as possible to the next position of advantage, okay? And that position of advantage could be kneeling, as you saw Travis doing a search and assess, or it could actually be to a standing position and then moving out of that situation that you find yourself in. Couple things that we'll talk about first. I'm not gonna go hot. I'm gonna lay myself down, all right? Once I lay myself down, if I hit the deck like this, maybe I started to run, I slipped, but the gun was still in the holster. Definitely could happen on a concealed carry. Maybe you're trying to run out of a convenience store or something, and you decided not to opt to pull your gun at this point, and all of a sudden, hey, now it is a bad situation, you slipped, now I gotta get my gun out. Once I fall back, I'm gonna try to stop my body. Everybody's seen like karate guys, right? What do you do to generally stop that energy so your head doesn't hit? Because I want to prevent this noggin from hitting the ground, right? Okay, because once I take a blow to the deck like that, it's going to be very hard, and you don't want to knock yourself out or give yourself a concussion. So as I hit the ground, I'm going to try to break my fall, and then next thing that I'm stressing about is my legs and feet, because I do not want to put a bullet through those, okay? Now, I have my gun right here, so what I'm going to have to do so I don't break one of the safety rules is move my leg, get my gun out, and drive it up on target. Once I drive it on target, I can do my engagement from here. I like to keep my feet really flat. I like to keep my legs flat. That way, if all of a sudden I got to take this threat, I can, or even if I got to move and get her, I can actually engage her as well. Point being is, sometimes people teach kind of going supported like this. Well, if all of a sudden a threat presents itself, you're cutting down on your ability to do that engagement fast. Not only that, but depending upon the type of gun you're carrying, especially if you're carrying a really small gun, a subcompact, what could happen from this position? You could sweep yourself and end up shooting yourself. So again, I try to flatten out as best as possible so that I can get my hits where they need to be and not strike my body, okay? Any questions there? You're going to notice that to a certain degree you're being affected here because you're going to use some stomach muscles to have to roll up. Some people are trying to do this. Do I need to come all the way up? It's going to be situational dependent if there's a low piece of cover. If not, I'm going to try to lay down as flat as possible. Some of you, depending upon the kit that you run in the military, might end up finding that you're kind of benching your gun on your plates or on other mags that are right here and use that for support. Can you do that? Can you use that for support? Is that okay? Use everything to your advantage. Okay, that's the goal. If all of a sudden I can just put my gun on top of my mags and crack those rounds off, then again, utilize that to your advantage. That's what's most important. Get the rounds off, watch your body parts. When you get up to this position right here, I'm going to do a search and assess. I'm going to stand up, do a search and assess, and then I might be continuing on running out. Okay, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to engage the steel. I'm going to lay down first, draw my gun, and do the engagement. So same situation. I'm on the deck. Somebody call it. Good. When you guys get up, one of the things you also have to be careful of is your muzzle. Notice I still kept it down range. All right, I will try to suck my body up underneath as much as possible. So when I'm here, let me lay back down again, cover getting up, my weapon system's out. I'll usually start to roll my body right to the side, get an elbow and forearm down, pretty much keep the gun pointed down range, plant my reaction hand, and then get a knee up underneath me and push off. Once I push off, gun's still orientated where it needs to be and almost a compressed ready, and then I'll come up into this position, do another last search and assess. Any questions with that? All right, I'm gonna run this one, kind of show you how I might find myself here in this position. I'm gonna start off, I'll engage this guy, I'm gonna take off, I'm gonna engage him again, I'm gonna take off, and I'll try to bite it right here. Call it. As you guys can see, during that, I didn't plan to fall down, but sometimes things will happen, especially if you find yourself in on a type of flooring that's really slick and smooth. That could happen. Why might that happen? Why do you think you might end up tripping? I'm just asking. What do you think? What's starting to happen out here? Let me ask you, if I had to engage him, take off and run, turn around and engage him again, and take off and run again, what do you call that?
Body alarm.
A body alarm response, right? So we're under a little bit of stress, because generally in my day-to-day activities, I'm not shooting somebody and running away from them, shooting somebody and trying to get out of that situation. So that's where it's likely to happen. You know, your feet sometimes it's kind of like a young lab. You ever see young labs? Their legs are really big. They got big paws, and then sometimes the rest of the body doesn't catch up with them, and they end up falling down. Same thing can happen to you guys. That was supine. Do you guys have any questions? All right, guys. Next position, supine. Supine. Take this opportunity right now to lower yourselves down to the deck. All right, we talked about the safety concerns here. Moving your foot and leg out of the way as you punch out from that holster. Shooters, you're to give me 4 rounds on the target. 4 rounds on the target. Good! From this position, you're gonna do everything in reverse. Move your weapon leg back into position, holster up. We're gonna do it one more time. Bust them. All right, you're gonna give me 5 rounds supine from the draw. You're gonna pop tall to a knee. From there, give me 5 more, stand up, give me 5 more. Then you guys are done. Foot! Hit. 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 Good job.
Let's talk about urban prone. Urban prone is a position that is considered unorthodox. It's a position that you don't really want find yourself in for too long of a time frame, but sometimes it is a necessity. I found myself in combat utilizing this position when I had never been there before. Being in that particular situation, I had to shoot with my reaction hand and a carbine. However, with a handgun, there's no switching shoulders, so it's pretty simple moving back and forth. The mechanics are pretty much the same to either side. But basically, again, this is a position that is very quick, very dynamic. It's only used in a very time-critical situation, like the North Hollywood shootout. You guys have seen that, where the bank robbers are running around. How'd they get that guy?
Shot him under the car.
Shot him under the car, right? And that took him down and gave those SWAT guys an opportunity to eliminate that threat. So it's been used by other people. It may be used in your bedroom, in a home invasion, under the bed, under a couch. You may be doing a high-risk entry, and you come in, you slip and fall on some kid's toy, and like the whole supine scenario that Chris talked about earlier, you find yourself looking underneath the kitchen table. You're going to, again, get back up and try to take the shot, or if you have a clear shot, can you work that guy from that position? So what we're doing is we're putting you there, so if you ever do find yourself in that position one day, you can say, hey, I've been here before. Okay? So let's work through the mechanics. There's two ways to do it. The first way is a support method, and then the other way I'll show you here in a second. Let's talk about support. I've made contact. I see, I perceive, I'm observed, he's got a gun, he's coming at me, he's a threat, and I want to change my orientation. Say I'm behind a vehicle, okay, we'll pretend an imagination land here. What's my priority?
Getting down.
What is it, Willie?
Getting down.
Okay, good. There you go again. Getting down is my priority. Changing that course of action for him to react now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop and draw at the same time, okay? So I'm going to get the hand, draw, I'm going down to the support, boom, pulling out, driving the gun out on target, and engaging. Now let's talk about some things while I'm down here on the deck. Notice where my leg is. My leg is driven forward, okay? Typically you're going to want to fall back like this. But what we need to do is get that leg forward, because watch the natural body mechanics. Watch the muscle memory or the bone support. Watch the gun. That's just natural. I'm not muscling. I'm letting the bones do all the work. So all I'm doing there is giving that slide a more rigid recoil abutment. Okay? And that's what I want. So I can dig in here and I can really get on this gun if I need to. Now also notice being in this position is very similar to the standing. To the isosceles. If I was to be standing up right now, which I'll just simulate, and extend my arms out in the isosceles position, I feel just like I'm standing up, so it'll be very comfortable for you. Now, everything from that point on with the gun fundamentally is the same down here. Getting up is exactly the same in reverse. Using the reaction hand, I'll press down right here in front of my chest, and I'll just kick my legs out. Notice where my gun is, keep it in a safe direction. May even use my elbow for a little support. I'm going to hop up on my knees. That's the next plane in the battlefield. What am I going to do there?
Search and assess.
Search and assess. And then I'm going to stand up, do another search and assess. Okay? So, I'm not going to fire. It's not live fire, but I'm going to demonstrate it in kind of a little faster speed. Somebody call it. Getting up in reverse, dynamically, moving to the kneeling, search and assess, moving to the standing. Okay, any questions on that? Again, it feels exactly the same when you're as a standing when you're on the ground in the urban prone. Now let's talk about the other method. I tend to use this method a little bit more because of, number one, my background. Number two, it keeps my gun in the fight by keeping both hands on the gun at all times as I'm going to the ground. I never break my reaction hand off of the gun. And that's kind of, I call it the PLF method. In the military, you've got a parachute landing fall. You'll see guys utilize absorption from their calf, their thigh, their hips, and their lats, and then their shoulders as they fall onto the ground, and I'll do it in slow motion. So if you watch my knees, watch the mechanics here. Basically, I'm just breaking it out, over-exaggerating it, of course. Rocking chair effect onto the ground. So you guys see that rocking chair effect? It's kind of like a break fall in martial arts. You want to try to absorb everything up the side of your body. Now, I'll do it in full speed, non-live fire. Gun! So notice how my hands never came off the gun. As soon as I hit the deck, what was I ready to do? Ready to engage, yeah. So, same thing, reverse getting back up. Okay guys, I'm going to show you now live fire. Do the support method first.
Bust him.
All right, now I'm going to do the PLF method.
Good.
All right, guys, that is the weapon side urban prone, utilizing the support and the PLF method. Now let's go to the opposite side. It's pretty simple. It's exactly the same. It's actually easier for me being a right-hander. For some reason, I know for Chris it is as well to go to the reaction side. So let's talk through that a second. Now, going to the reaction side, you can actually utilize the support hand or the reaction hand as a support break fall hand. Okay, so as you fall, your gun's going to come out. You're going to get down, boom, slap it as a break fall, acquire the grip on the handgun, and then start to engage. Getting back up is exactly the same. Your reaction hand is still doing all the work, just like on the weapon side. Pressing down, rolling yourself back up to the kneeling position, search and assess, and then stand. PLF side. PLF reaction side, draw's coming up. You can see it's a little easier for me to just drop over. Boom, leg comes over in the front. Gun's already on target, sights on target, pressing, firing, follow through, get back up, search and assess, get back up, search and assess. Any questions? Pretty simple, right? Same as the other side, just opposite side. All right, let's go live fire. Going to utilize the support method, the break fall support reaction side first.
Good.
All right, now I'll demonstrate the PLF reaction side.
Good.
All right, guys, that's it. Any questions on those?
Question.
Sure.
It seems like when you use the PLF form, you end up a lot more compact on the ground, so isn't that an advantage to be a smaller target?
Actually, that's a good question. It is an advantage to be a smaller target, and it'll be, again, it's one of those situational awareness things. If I'm actually utilizing this position around a wall or something, which sometimes we'll do to maybe change a course of action of the enemy, he knows where you're at, and that's the only shot you can take on him. You're coming around, he pins you off, I may drop down. I've got this whole wall for cover, right? So I can get on the corner of that wall and pop out, because he's not going to expect me there. I can engage and pop back inside the wall, get back up. So I don't need to worry about that, right, on that wall. Now, fetal position, where does that come into play? Called the urban fetal. That's a good name. I think we're going to utilize that, Willie. So now, as you said, nice and compact. Where would this come into play?
Maybe a car.
Okay, yeah. When we get behind cars and do this, again, in an actual gunfight under vehicles, you will find yourself the size of whatever your cover is, like a hubcap. So that's a good question. The fetal position there will definitely fit into that scenario. And you'll see that when we start working around vehicles tomorrow and the next day. Any questions? All right. Let's get it on, guys. We're going to go ahead on the command, draw our handguns. We're going to come to the high compress ready. I'm going to then tell you to get down into the urban weapon side. Go ahead and use the support technique with your reaction hand. Go ahead and support yourself down to the ground. Make sure you got your legs forward. We'll come by, check you really quick, and then you're going to hear some threat commands. We'll do that first, and then we'll get you back up in reverse so you know the mechanics. All right? Any questions? Shooters, draw your weapon systems to the compressed ready position. Well, there we go. Good. Everybody's getting that sideline by side picture repetition. All right, safely lower yourself down into the weapon urban prone. Keep those muzzles down range. Now, feel the position. You should feel like you're standing up. You can drive that leg a little bit more forward if you want.
Is I'll take this knee, put a bend here, and just ground it.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's actually, then it stays right there.
You can dig that bad boy in or you can bend it, so it's up to you, whatever feels comfortable. Scott, I'm gonna move your leg out just a little bit. Get you a little bit more braced up there, okay?
Hey, Willie, this may work for you, it may not. I usually put a bend right here and then just ground it so you don't have to hold it up.
It's a good point. You guys can take your knee and kind of ground it on the ground. All right. Go ahead and give me 4 shots. Threat. Give me 4 more shots. Threat. Take out mag in. 4 more shots. Threat. Nice, Willie. Nice reload. Good job. Good job. All right. Now, we're going to safely go ahead and come up to the kneeling position to search and assess using the reaction hand. And get up. Keep the weapons oriented downrange in a safe direction. Good job. Search, assess, and stand. All right, guys, this time you're going to do it on your own. I'm going to call an execution command, and when you hear that command, you're going to safely lower yourself down to the ground, watching where your muzzle is downrange, of course. Get into position. You're going to give me 4 shots once you're in the weapon, urban, prone. Same direction you just went. Any questions? Good! Safely lower yourself down. Good job, Garth. Good job, Garth. Nice reload. Now, I'm going to let you stand on your own. Stand! We're going to do that again. If you want to try to utilize the PLF technique, go ahead and do that at this time. You're going to engage your 4 rounds. You're going to search and assess really quickly, and then utilize the reaction hand for support to get back up to the standing position. Search and assessing on the way. All right, here we go. Get out! Nice, nice, Garth, nice. Good reload, Scott. Okay, shooters, this is what we're going to do now. We're going to go reaction side. You can utilize the support or the PLF technique if you choose to. We'll call the execution command. You're going to do it on your own. You're going to gauge 4 to 5 rounds. Stand and get back up, search and assess, get ready for the next drill. Shooters, stand by. Get down! There you go. Look at Willie. Get up, Willie. Good job, good job. He's got a gun!
Hey, quick question. Chris, if I need to do a speed reload on my reaction side, how am I supposed to access my mag? Do I come over to access my mags?
Exactly. You would roll back just like you are. Your muzzle can stay orientated downrange or anywhere within your workspace. Even up high, it's still not a problem. Obviously, we're on a range, so we're trying to keep the muzzle downrange. But anywhere within your workspace, this magical 16-inch bubble. And then you know as well, to get off these magazines, you have to pretty much roll flat on your back. So from there, you would end up getting off your source of ammunition, insert a new magazine, and then what? Drive your upper body forward again, get on that gun. So I just set your gun up again to do it. Let's start from there, Matt. We're hot. Stand by. Gun. Great job. Good muzzle control. 2 rounds. Outstanding job, Matt. Very nice.
All right, here we go. One last time. Reaction side. Using any technique that you choose. Stand by. Get out!
All right, guys, we've shot in a variety of positions. We're going to finish it with just regular prone. You never know what, again, position that you're going to find yourself into, and if you need to utilize any position as an advantage position, then hopefully you've already shot that position. You've been there before, you've seen it, so that when you start doing that long-term potentiation, you've been there before. You know, if you're going to get into position, it's going to be okay because you've been there before. Your brain has something to reference. But what I do want to cover really quickly is speed reloads from some of these positions. Most people generally will carry mags on their left-hand side. Unless you're a lefty and everything's reversed, then you'll carry them on your right-hand side. Point being is that when you're in some of these positions, you're on top of some of your gear that is going to support your weapon system. So what I've done is I've set my gun up just to have a couple rounds in it, so that as I fire it from different positions, I have to actually roll my body. Remember that 16-inch bubble, okay? So everything that we do is within that 16-inch bubble. So I'm going to set my gun up a couple different ways and reload. So just take a look at this. If I'm supine and I'm in this position right here, all right, and I fire and I have to do a speed reload, again, nothing dramatic needs to change. I dump the magazine, roll the gun, insert, power stroke, get the gun right back up into the fight. Okay, so that problem is solved with supine. All right, if I'm urban prone, then I can at least access my magazine from here. But remember, we need to utilize what? What to help this magazine fall out? Gravity, right? So generally, we try to break the grip and turn and roll the gun. So from here, as I fire, I go to slide lock, dump the magazine. Everything is within that workspace. Insert, power stroke, get that gun back up. Search and assess, problem solved. Slightly different now if I'm on what side? This side right here, because I'm actually on top of my magazines. So as I present and punch out, I go to slide lock. I'm going to dump that magazine and utilize gravity, so I'm going to bring it in. If I need to, I can keep it flat. Dump the magazine, insert, roll back over, press, press. Search and assess. Now I'm fine. As far as straight prone goes, you're laying on everything, okay? So when I'm in this position and I drop down and I punch out, I go to slide lock. I'm going to have to give a slight roll, insert, power stroke, come right back up. And that's how I'm going to solve those problems. Remember, that's just a speed reload, all right? Real quick while we're in this position. Okay, so now what I've done is I've set up a double feed. So I'll handle this one. Here's the thing about this. If you find yourself in this position and you can't get up because you need to stay small and be small because you're getting shot all around you, then you're just gonna have to work through this. If there's a better position, or if by getting up it'll allow you the ability to manipulate your weapon system, then that's what you should probably do. So what I don't wanna see is I don't wanna see a person fighting on the ground when if you had just come up to a knee, you could have probably cleared your malfunction really quick. All right, that is going to be an individual choice for you that you are going to have to make. All right, so I'm gonna run one more. We'll go with this position right here because my this arm's a little bit pinned, so sometimes it can be a little bit of a pain in the butt. Guys ready? All right, so I punch out, I attempt to fire, I look, I ID, I lock, strip, rack, rack, rack if I need to, reinsert, power stroke, search and assess, problem solved, okay? Again, no matter what you do with this gun, everything is done in your workspace. Also understand your surroundings. I said earlier, if you find yourself in this position and something happens, you can utilize this position. You can even point straight up. It does not matter. Is there anything unsafe with this? No. However, if I all of a sudden have a partner that comes up, you better damn sure put some pressure on me so I know you're there, because I might utilize this as my workspace. But if you're there, then I'm going to have to modify it. So if I have a weapon-related malfunction, then I'm going to have to lock. I'm going to have to work in more of a confined space. Rack, rack, rack. Okay, nothing wrong with going completely inverted if I need to. Reinsert, power stroke, and go, because I have another officer or military person above me, not permitting me the use of that space. Does that make sense? That is situational awareness. This is why we need you to search and assess. This is why we need you to focus on a lot of other things than just yourself. Remember, generally, we're worried about ourselves, okay? And that's fine to a certain degree. But some of you, there's going to be more things that start happening to you along the way. For instance, as an example, I need to worry about myself and my workspace and what's going on with me. I then need to encompass my surroundings. It could be my children, it could be my wife, it could be my girlfriend. From there, that side of the house could also be on the fact that somebody could run into your line of fire. So your situational awareness needs to be great in this aspect, okay? So just hitting some of the things that can happen to you in these positions. All right, next position that we're gonna talk about is prone, okay? Now, a couple things. Obviously, I gotta start getting my gun out of the holster. I need to lower myself down to the deck as fast as possible. I wanna try to avoid supermaning, which means that I wanna try to occupy the same space that I'm already in with my body. I don't wanna dive forward, I don't want to dive rear. So from this position right here, the first thing that's gonna happen is I'm gonna go to the gun and then start to break down. Reaction hand is gonna hit the deck. I'm gonna kick my feet out and drop completely down to the deck at this point. Now, I'm going to, based on my body type and where the threat is, punch straight out and engage the target. I will deck this gun if I can. So I will put this gun down on the deck and use it as a position of advantage to try to monopod this weapon system, okay, so I can get my hits. Now, there's a slight variant to this technique. Sometimes people that are wearing a lot of kit in the military, or dependent upon how you are set up as a female or even a male, because stomachs can get in the way here. I may have to come up and hold my arms up. What's the drawback here? As I fire, I've got this hinge point here that's getting in my way, so the gun's gonna go to the path of least resistance. So in an effort to minimize that, one of the other things you can do is, though I like to fall flat behind my weapon system, just like I'm shooting a carbine or a long gun, I may have to actually roll up to the arm, and then fire from this position. So at that point, depending upon the kit I have, I'm just slightly canted sideways, firing from this position, okay? So it's not exactly prone 100%, and it's not exactly urban prone 100%. You're just modifying it based on your body type or your kit, the kit that you guys are wearing. Couple other things. When you guys are starting to lower yourself down to the ground, you don't want to have to hold this position, okay? Holding this position is gonna fatigue you. You wanna get off your reaction hand as fast as possible. So when you do this in one step, what ends up happening is the reaction hand comes down, and then I kick and drop at the same time. Drop my legs out from underneath me extremely quickly so that I do not have to put much pressure on my hand, okay? All right, I'm gonna go hot. Contact! Any questions with going prone? I'll do it one more time. Bust them! Any questions with prone? Anything safety-wise here that you need to worry about?
Sweeping your hands when you're going up.
There is potential for that. Obviously, with a very longer weapon system, generally I'm bringing out a carbine, I go to plant. Exactly. With the handgun, sometimes, if you're not careful, sometimes you could sweep your body parts. So you want to make sure that once you lower, you kick out, and then I usually, again, ground my gun. My gun is absorbing part of the blow, okay? As you saw, it is getting hit pretty hard, and that's fine. As long as you get a good durable gun, then it doesn't really matter. So, shouldn't be a factor. If there are no questions, let's line it up. 3 rounds on the steel. 3 rounds on the steel. Do this first time at about 30%. Shooter, stand by. Gun.
I want to see hits. I want to see hits.
Stand up when you're done. Safely stand up when you are done. Same drill, same speed. Stand by.
3 hits on the plates. 3 hits on the plates.
Done.
Guys, the little thing that might help you is when you're getting that gun, extend it out. When you're going down, extend the gun and put it right where you want it. All right, some of you guys are getting down here, you're getting into the prone, and then you're extending it out. Drive that gun out to where you want it.
Give me 2 shots prone, 2 shots kneeling, 2 shots standing. Gun!
Prone, kneeling, standing.
All right, guys. Next thing that we're going to work on is 90 and 180 degree facing movements, okay? We know that statistically most threats generally don't come on us head on. They generally come off our flanks or from behind us. So what was Travis mentioning earlier during mindset portion that starts to apply to this right here? What did he say? Sometimes you hear gunshots, sometimes you might hear an explosion, somebody might yell gun.
What's the first letter?
What's that first letter?
Perceive the threat.
There you go. So now what has to happen for that to take place?
Oriented.
Okay, so what body part of mine is going to move first? So the head's going to go, I see, all right, I look, and then I start what? Making movement into that direction and doing what I need to do, engaging that threat.
Deciding and acting.
Deciding and acting. So the head goes and then the body goes. Same thing from this position right here. All right, if I'm facing this way, everything is the same. The most important thing to understand is just get turned around. Now, I do try to square up as much as possible, especially if I'm a law enforcement officer or military and I'm running plates. Not just that, but remember, it's not just that focal point, but the ability to engage targets from here, here, and here. So I always want to try to drive my upper torso to the majority of threats as best as possible. We know that if I have to shoot and move, then that's the same shooting platform that I end up utilizing. What we want to be very careful of is I start to turn and then I draw my gun and then I'm all hyperextended right here on my leg, and then all of a sudden I can't take any more additional threats and I have to replant my foot anyways. So it becomes an efficiency, it becomes wasted movement at that point. So if we're going to turn and make a decision to act, we might as well do it right from the get-go. For the range, when is the gun allowed to come out? When am I allowed to draw my gun, even if I'm in this position right here? As soon as I look, downrange. Can my hand go to the gun? Can I already start establishing that grip? So can I quick to the gun, sure of my grip? Can I already get that achieved? Sure, nothing wrong with that. And as soon as I start to face down range, that gun's coming up out of the holster.
That also applies out in reality as well. If you got a threat you perceive behind you and you do turn, you're not going to draw and flag everybody that's around you. You're going to probably draw and drive your gun through your body to the threat anyway. So that's even being safe out in reality. So the range rules, as anal as they can be sometimes, do apply out there.
A lot of people try to choreograph movement, meaning always step with this foot or always step with this foot. What is your priority? Get turned around. That's your priority. You may not have the luxury of doing that. So your job is going to be to creating avenue for that muzzle to come out and get pointed down range.
Did you guys notice which foot he moved first on that? You guys were watching, right? Which one moved first? Exactly. We don't know. He just moved. That's the key here. We're not absolute. We're not going to say you need to step out with the right foot. You need to step out with the left foot. You need to spin in place with little hoppy dances. Just turn as fast as you can possibly turn in your skill level with your body, whatever the way it's built. Just get the gun up on target. If you have issues at that point, we'll come by and we'll work on the efficiency.
Here's an example of why we don't choreograph our moves, okay? If I come this close to Travis and we're standing in a line somewhere, maybe we're waiting to get movie tickets, whatever the case is, and he's got to do an engagement, okay? He's got to do an engagement. How's he going to turn? If we always say you turn with this leg and we specify it, how's that going to work for him? It's what? It's not. But he creates a solution, an avenue, solves the problem to get his gun out and get it into play. Problem solved. And then if I react, that's fine as well. Okay?
And in full speed, it'd probably just be, I'm not flagging him, even though I'm right off his back. I'm not flagging him. I'm not doing any crazy steps. I'm just getting the gun on target, being safe as I can doing so with somebody right in front of me.
All right, we're going to go live here. We'll start off facing right, left, and then rear, basically downrange. Contact!
Gun side. Going to the gun side first. We're going to go each direction, guys. Gun side first. All right, that's it, guys. It's in a nutshell. There's no perfect way to do it. Just get the gun up in the fight. We have any questions? All right, here's the drill. On the execution command, what are you gonna do first? You're gonna look. All right, you're gonna orient your head to observe, to take in information on the threat. You're gonna give me 4 rounds on your plate, directly in front of you. 4 rounds on your plate, directly in front of you. Turning any way you know how, as quickly as possible. We'll work out the bugs later. All right, here we go. Left!
Touch press.
Let's go ahead and turn to the opposite direction. 4 rounds on your plate. 4 rounds on your plate for this one. Gun! ID, turn. Good slingshot, Matt, good slingshot.
Shoot shot, very nice.
What do you got, identifying? Good.
She is really good on manipulating that thing.
Yes, she is.
She's doing very well.
All right, turn it to your gun side, which is everybody's right side right now. 4 rounds on your plate. 4 rounds on your plate, turn it to your gun side. Stand by. Behind you! We're gonna do it again.
Shooters, stand by. Gun!
Fix that grip, Keith, every time, especially on that reload, because you go even lower on the reload. All right, good job, guys, good job. All right, guys, that's kind of wraps up the major building fundamental blocks there. We covered a lot of things, started off obviously from the very scratch with admin reloads, and now we're moving all the way through weapons manipulation, reloads, malfunctions, covered all the malfunctions to a detail, problem solving when things go wrong, got into some positions, and now we're starting to work on the movement. So things are going to start ramping up here. So a lot of information, a lot of things coming at you, but all the fundamentals still stay the same, okay? We've covered the how and the what. We're going to continue to cover the why, even more in depth as we get into more dynamic movements. So great day so far.
Guys, I think the great thing to see is when people progress to a level to where you're already solving your own problems. I told you guys that it's not a matter of how you behave and perform when your gun is running. It's how you behave and act when your gun is not running, because that is that time critical situation. Of course, you know, you're getting rounds on that target and then it stops. That stops happening. So you need to try to get more bullets into that gun or solve the problem that is occurring with your gun. That is the true mark of a good shooter, is when you are at the having and starting to possess the ability of solving problems, not normal problems, problems when things go wrong. So I thought you guys did a great job today.
Great day, guys. There's more to come tomorrow.
Let's go grab some chow.